Welcome to Decades of Horror, the 1980s.
All I saw was an old man with a funky hand. That's all I saw.
This is episode 270, recorded October 16th, 2024.
Gruesome Magazine.
My name is Jeff Mohr, and this podcast is about horror films released between 1980 and 1989. Each episode, my co-hosts Bill Mulligan, Crystal Cleveland, and Chad Hunt and I will tackle another classic or not so classic film from this radical, gory, influential, and gruesome decade. Joining me this week is Crystal Cleveland, actress and YouTuber who just got all her Halloween stuff set up. How you doing, Crystal?
Oh, you were about to call me Cleveland?
I was
Some
going to
people
say
call me
Cleveland. I should just start doing that, you know?
A lot of people call me Cleveland. I don't know why. It's like, I guess it is kind of a weird last name, but I'm doing great. It's like it's full on fall now out there, and it's even getting colder. Like it is in the 50s here, so that's super awesome. I bet. How cold is it there, Jeff? Like I bet it's cold there.
It's getting to freezing at night, but during the day it's like
it's
70.
crazy. That's crazy.
So
that's nice.
We turned our heat on 2 days ago. So
oh wow, isn't that neat? That's great.
Yeah,
Getting ready for the holidays.
Also with us is Bill Mulligan, writer, director, special effects guru, co-host of Decades of Horror of the 1970s, published author, and all-around nice guy.
Right, thank you. Yes. Hey, you know it goes great with Halloween when kids are coming. Don't give them candy. It's bad for their teeth. Give them my book. It's bad for their brain. Traumatize them for life. It'll do.
All right.
Gift
So
ungiven.
glad that you're here. Chad Hunt could not be with us tonight. He is still taking care of business, but I promise you he will return. And I'm sure he'll have much to report. But in his stead, we have a couple ringers. One which the regular Grue believers will recognize. Ralph Miller, one of the Gruesome Magazine Decades of Horror irregulars. That's like the Baker Street irregulars.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He's regularly on irregularly. So how you doing, Ralph?
I'm doing great. Looking forward to Halloween. It's the best time, best holiday of the year.
Excellent. Yep. And also with us is Jeff Farley. And I don't know, Jeff, you want to introduce yourself? Other than a special effects person, stop motion fanatic, anything else?
Hopefully my voice can be heard at this point. But
yep, that's all we need.
Great. Okay, good. That's good to know. But yeah, I mean, basically, yeah, all of those things and far less. And and no, I mean, I just enjoy this stuff a lot, and was lucky enough to get into the field and have some fun doing it.
Well, and in fact, both of these fine fellows worked on the film we're going to discuss.
Yep.
So
yeah,
which is crazy because this is a classic.
That's awesome.
It is.
Like
it is
an amazing, top-notch, top 10 of the 80s. I say it's top tier, S tier.
It's right up there with John Carpenter's The Thing. It's
what not
you talk of
like that's
when you say
crazy.
When you say practical 80s effects, the movies that come to mind are The Thing, obviously, but close behind The Blob.
And they both bombed at the box office.
Yeah, because they didn't know what good was back then.
Hold on now. Before we move ahead, Gruesome Magazine Decades of Horror partner with Play Now Media, who have a couple dozen different streaming apps, and they just recently finished upgrading all of their apps. So if you tried them before and didn't think that's what you wanted to do, go check them out again.
Check it again.
Because they really are they've really gone the extra mile here on that. So our topic today is the Blob. And I had to put Bill Moseley on there.
There you go.
Who plays,
oh
I
my
think...
God, I didn't even recognize him.
He plays like soldier number 3 or soldier number 2, something like that.
Yeah, random soldier. Yeah, I remember seeing him on set. And
apparently, he was a last-minute add to the cast because the person who was supposed to play them didn't show up. So,
Wow.
Their loss.
Yeah, he did a great job. So anyway, he's down in the sewer and freaking out wearing his hazmat thing. The Blob, 1988, is directed by Chuck Russell, co-written by Chuck Russell and Frank Darabont. The cast includes Kevin Dillon, Shawnee Smith, Donovan Leach Jr., Jeffrey DeMunn, Candy Clark, Joe Seneca, Del Close, Paul McCrane, Sharon Spellman, Bo Billingsley, Art LaFleur, Ricky Paul Golden, Bill Moseley, Billy Beck, and Jack Nance. And that's just not even a small piece. That's a lot of people in this movie. Production company is TriStar Pictures, filmed in Abbeville, Louisiana, and California, I believe, in some of the outdoor locations are in California. Filming dates, and this is a total guess, January 12th to May 25th. What I heard on some of the commentary was, I think IMDb says they started filming January 12th, 1988. And I think somebody said they spent 3 weeks in Abbeville, Louisiana, and then another 10 to 12 weeks in California. And Tony Gardner said they finished up on May 25th. So that's why I put that in there, which is pretty rapid for all this stuff because it was then released August 5th, 1988.
Yeah, that's a pretty short turnaround time there.
Estimated budget, well, it depends who you talk to. Again, Chuck Russell says a little less than 10 million. Other places say 15 million. Domestic box office, 8,247,943, and it always amazes me how they can go to the dollar on the box office.
Yeah,
which usually means I don't really believe it. And
five of those came from me, at least, maybe 10.
Well, and I believe, if I remember right, the studio was changing hands, changing heads, and which this happens. A lot of the movies we do in the latter 80s just disappear. The studio goes bankrupt, the studio gets sold, whatever, and then the people that greenlighted it aren't there anymore, and the new guys don't want to spend any money on the marketing. So the synopsis, which you probably know, a deadly entity from space crash lands near a small town and begins consuming everyone in its path. Panic and shenanigans ensue as shady government scientists try to contain the horrific creature. Oh, okay. Bill. Yeah, I like Bill. So let's get into first impressions. And you know what? I picked this one, and this is I maybe I'll let Crystal go first because this was Crystal's pick. But
it was, yeah.
We had it on the schedule, but by the time it showed up on the schedule, it wasn't streaming anymore. So by the time it was scheduled to record it, so we were keeping an eye out, and it popped on in October for Shocktober type stuff. And it was my turn to pick, so I picked it.
I'm so glad because let me tell you, y'all, this was one of my favorite movies as a kid. So the thing I'm a big weirdo, and I've always loved body horror. I have always really enjoyed it, not found it disgusting. I find it exhilarating and very interesting. And this film was a lot more fun for me than The Thing was. I love The Thing. Absolutely. It's top tier. But this one is just more fun. Well, maybe it's just because the monster was pink. And as a kid, I was like, that's awesome. I mean, I
just
can't
like my bedroom.
I gotta be honest with you, when you're young, that's and I remember watching this, and there were those two little boys. I remember them being cool, but I was even younger than them. So it was like, wow, what cool kids. I probably had a crush on one of them or something as a child. I don't remember, but I just remember this film being crazy because I remember thinking, well, why isn't it absorbing everything around it? Like I couldn't quite understand. I do remember not being able to understand what it was doing. Like, is it just absorbing everything? Obviously it's absorbing organic matter or whatever. But like in my child brain, I was like, is it just going to eat everything? I mean, let's be real. This film really doesn't have much of a plot. It's very simple, but it's one of the best acted and best special effects films in all of the 80s. I mean, honestly, like the special effects even to this day are freaking phenomenal. Phenomenal. Like on a whole different level. So yeah, but yeah, I love this film. Stands up to the test of time. I should watch it more often. Actually, I should. I don't own this one, and I feel like I should own this one. I should buy it.
Well,
yeah.
By the way, it might be a good time to say it. Shout Factory just put out a 4K version of it with tons of
lots of extras.
Tons of extras. I mean,
this is worth a buy for sure. It's one of those films. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go to Bill Mulligan next.
So I've been a big fan of the original Blob. It was actually one of the first movies I remember being scared of when I was a child. My sister and I were watching it on old black and white TV. I didn't even know it was in color for the longest time. I know it's red, but on this TV it was pitch black. The Blob was just this inky pitch black. Scared the crap out of us. So then when this came out, and I saw the ads, what few ads they had for it and everything. And I read the Fangoria article that was showing just this marvelous effects. I had to go see it. I was there opening night. It was a decent crowd, actually. And I guess I was the only people who saw it, though. We had a great time. The audience was happy. I was happy. Just a fun monster flick.
Mm-hmm.
You know, kind of mindless, kind of, you know, the script was pretty standard. I wasn't crazy about making the Blob another you know, evil government agency gone wrong kind of thing, because that's become such a cliche. And I think it still holds up. I think it's got some of the best practical effects of the time. And the Blob, you know, if they did the Blob now, it would be all CGI. No question. And in fact, I was reading some reviews of this one, and the guy was like, I like the old one better because the Blob is just CGI. It's like, dude, there was no CGI back in 1988.
Wait, the dude thought this was CGI.
Yes. Which I think is a compliment, that he thought that what you guys did with and when Jeff, I knew Jeff years ago, and we interviewed, and when he was telling me, we were using methyl cellulose and silk, I'm like, are you bleeping kidding me? Silk?
Okay, wait. What is methyl cellulose? What is that?
You don't want to know. It's
slime.
It's slime, and it's in your milkshakes.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, it's bad. Is it bad?
Would you guys let Jeff talk?
It's made from wood pulp, and it's like there's food grade versions of it, but it's a food thickener, and it thickens other stuff. And you know, but I was going to say that, like, while we were doing it, we were doing digital effects, but they were really our fingers were under
digit.
We were doing a lot of this.
Nice.
Imagine a half a dozen people underneath a quilt, like a slimy quilt, doing this, and then them saying, "Do it better." You know, like it's like,
that's awesome.
What are we supposed to do? I mean,
that's why it looks so good. Mm-hmm.
What's my motivation, man?
I know exactly. I know it is.
Well, Bill, I'm just going to cut you off, and we're just going to go.
Please let me. You can hear me anytime.
So, we got a bunch of pictures and stuff lined up, and I don't know. Well, just tell us because I know you guys worked on different parts of the movies. So let's start with Jeff while we got everything working here. Who was your boss or supervisor, and where were most of your efforts put, or was it just wherever they sent you?
I was hired on Lyle Conway's side, and he was handling the Blob effects. And he had done Little Shop of Horrors before that, so he was pretty pretty famous for doing that, and so there was a lot on his shoulders, to carry this through, and of course, greatness was expected of him, and I mean, I guess we gave him as great as we could. I mean, it was some pretty interesting techniques, and we saw a lot of interesting things happen. And whoever came up with the idea of, maybe it was Lyle himself who came up with the idea of doing the blob quilts. And it worked out pretty well. It was really organic looking, and then there was various other, mechanical devices, and but I mean, yeah, in my case, yeah, I was just sort of like an all-around lab guy. They threw me in the animatronics department first, where I was stringing cables, and I was like, this is like not where I want to be. And they put me over into the lab department, making molds and casting pieces, and eventually, doing some sculpting. But and then a lot of set work.
So Ralph, what did you work on, and who was your supervisor?
Well, I was working for Lyle Conway myself. I did not go to the location, anything like that, but there was some post-production effects where there was some puppeteering and whatnot. But primarily I was working in the mechanical end of the special effects, in blob effects, that is, under Lyle Conway. And Mark Zatrakian was kind of in charge of the mechanical aspects. So
okay.
I worked.
So like the tendrils and stuff, or
yeah. I'll in fact a little bit later I'll show you some pieces that I have that will give you some idea of
cool.
Awesome.
what we were doing and how.
Oh my God, you kept some blob? Are you?
I don't have any blob. No, I don't have any blob. But I do have something that will give you some idea of how things were done.
So to describe what you guys were saying, at least this is what I read, and it sort of made sense to me. So it was sort of like parachute silk, and then it was like quilted, and this stuff was put into the pockets. Plus, I assume smeared on the outside to provide moisture and glistening. And I don't know. I'm making up words.
That's a great That's a great word. That was awesome.
Soaked right up.
It would come out through osmosis.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would seep right through the silk and just get everywhere.
Yes.
So you were on Lyle Conway's crew as well, but you were back in California.
Yeah, that's right. I was in the studio the whole time, except for a little bit of post-production. But yeah, I was not on the set on location, which must have been a really crazy experience, because things were crazy enough in the shop where we were building things. Mm-hmm. And again, the shop was split right down the middle with a tape line. On the other side was Tony Alderson's, Tony Gardner's Alterian Studios, and on our side it was Lyle Conway's shop. And Lyle had just come off of doing Little Shop of Horrors, and it was spectacular. And so he must have been on a high at that point. And this was such a challenging show. In fact, before I took the job on, Tom Flautz, who recommended I talk to them about it, said, I got to tell you this, the rumors about this show is that things are really kind of screwed up. That it's really challenging. And, if you're game for it, go for it, because it could be a really fun movie, but it's going to be, it could be rough. And he wasn't wrong.
I can imagine you're making a gelatinous creature. That's very hard.
And when you compare it to the original, where they literally just took a big dump of silicone and let it roll down a floor, this was so organic looking.
It looks real.
Because they say special effect guru Bill Mulligan. Yeah, that means that usually when I see a special effect, I have a pretty good idea of how it was done. When I'm watching this thing and that one scene where you see it on the street and it looks like it's vomiting itself out of itself, and it looks like some kind of sea creature that can make its stomach appear out of its mouth or something. I'm just looking at this like I have no flipping idea how they just did that. It's not stop motion, because I know how to see stop motion. I said, I don't know how you did that. And
Yeah.
it's still, even when Jeff described it to me, I was like, I still don't understand. You told me how you did it, but I don't see how that works. I need to see some behind the scenes footage of you guys pushing on this thing from the
Well, that's what it
inside.
sounds like. It just sounds like there was a whole bunch of guys under this thing, and it was like,
Oh, sweet.
I mean, like a whole bunch.
But that sounds
And
like
it was
should be
very
a
heavy
horrible.
too, right?
Yeah.
It was wild.
Oh, I would imagine. Yeah, that gelatinous stuff. I keep saying gelatinous.
Well,
It makes me think of Dungeons and Dragons, gelatinous cubes.
the impression I
Like-
got was when they did it, they had no idea how they were going to do it. So
Sure.
everything
That's
that they
always good.
did was like a test shot. They hardly had time to really test it. They would test it and it wouldn't work. And now it's time to do it. So now
Right.
we're fixing it
Pressure's
on the
on.
fly kind of thing. Is that,
Yeah. Yeah.
and lots and lots of hours.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Mark Satrakian was saying that we averaged 100 hours a week.
Mm.
100 hours a week. That's like 2.5 times 40-hour weeks, or like three times 9 to 5.
I mean, well, you can see it. This is one of those movies. I'm willing to bet anything that shot, that wonderful scene in the beginning when the kid that you think is going to be the hero of the movie turns out to be one of the first victims. That looks like one of those things that took 20 hours to set up for 15 seconds of footage. You know, the shots.
We are doing spoilers, everybody. Just
Oh
so
yeah,
know.
this is.
Oh
spoiler.
yeah. We usually
We
like
are spoilers.
You know what?
Yeah.
The movie's
Yeah.
what 40 years old or
Let's
something.
just take a quick look here.
37 or 36.
Just for some
36.
cred here. So Ralph had, just to remind people, because we've had
Just a few
Ralph
of the
on
things.
for
Yeah.
a lot of these movies. Ralph worked on these Killer Clowns.
All of these
Okay,
we've done
wait,
except
I have
Spellcaster.
never seen Spellcaster.
It was one of the few
Okay.
movies I could find that both of them had worked on.
I have to see this
Mhm.
now immediately.
Dolls and From Beyond,
From
Great.
Beyond.
and which we have
Yeah.
done all of these except Spellcaster.
Yep.
Yeah. Although when we
and-
did Killer Clowns, I wasn't a part of it.
You wasn't on.
That's
Literally,
crazy.
Ralph
Yeah.
emailed me
my
the day
pick
after.
too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Ralph emailed me
And
the day
dolls,
after we
too. My
recorded it and said, "Hey, if you guys haven't recorded this, I worked on it. I could join you." And I'm like,
Tar.
but we did talk
well.
about it. We did talk about
Yeah,
it.
we
so, we did another episode just about career in general, I think. And just to quickly go through this, Chuck Russell,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm-
the
Nightmare
best
on Elm
Nightmare on Elm
3,
Street.
Yeah.
and that
I
was
worked,
with Frank Darabont as well.
right. And I worked on that one too. And both of
Yeah.
them had storyboards. Let's
Wait,
see.
you worked on what? You worked on a Nightmare on Elm Street 3?
Yeah. Well, he
Yes.
joined us
Yes.
for that.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember that. Why
Remember-
am I not remembering that? Why do I feel crazy?
Freddy Vision. There were robotic arms.
Oh my
that
God!
came
Yes,
out.
of
Yeah,
course. Of
yeah.
course.
And
Thank
the
you so
faucets.
much.
The
It was my
faucets
cake.
is the things I remember. I thought the faucets.
Oh yeah, the faucet handles.
Anyway,
I'm like, wait a second. That's my favorite one.
so
Chuck
Mask?
Russell's got some big hits
It's
here.
amazing.
The Mask
Yeah.
made a freaking mint.
Yeah.
The mask was good, actually. Like,
And Frank Darabont is amazing as well, co-writer. You know.
oh yeah, he's like, let's see, writer director on The Mist, writer director on The Green Mile,
Hmm.
writer on Frankenstein, 1994 with De Niro and Kenneth Branagh,
yeah.
writer director of The Shawshank Redemption,
Oh my
writer on
God.
the Fly
Stuff.
2,
Yeah.
and
Showrunner for
Dream
Walking
Warriors.
Dead.
Yeah. So yeah, lots of cool stuff, and some of it with Chuck Russell and Crystal. I know that Chuck Russell has I think he calls it a reimagining of Witchboard.
Mhm.
That
Oh, yes, it's coming. It's supposed to be out this year, I
it
thought.
just premiered at Fantasia Fest, I think.
Wow.
Oh, Fantastic Fest? Yeah. Or,
Oh, that'd be
yeah.
interesting seeing.
That should be fun.
I haven't
Um,
seen.
Something
know
I
people who went.
was trying to say is that Peter Von Scholey did storyboards for Nightmare on Elm Street 3: The Dream Warriors and also The Blob.
Hmm.
He did the storyboards.
Awesome.
He's a great illustrator and author as well.
Well, and that's something Chuck Russell said he had to. That's how he did things. He
Yes.
had everything storyboarded. because then he knew exactly what he needed, what he didn't need, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and in fact, I have copies of both. This is my Blob storyboards.
Oh, wow.
That's neat.
You know.
Oh, that's awesome.
But the thing is that sometimes you'd see these storyboards and you'd read the description and you're like, wow, that's so cool. How are we going to do that?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, hold
God.
that. Hold one of those
Yeah.
up again. Well,
Oh, a picture?
I got you in a bigger
Okay.
screen here.
So there's one of the
Okay.
pages
Oh, that's
here.
awesome.
Oh, that's neat. Yeah. Oh, that theater
That's the
scene.
theater scene, yeah.
Oh God!
Like that's the most iconic scene.
Yeah.
So
And
do
look,
this.
You can see the little person
Yeah.
there. Little
Yeah, do
person
that.
in the
Go
middle of the
ahead.
blob.
Do this.
I
all there is to
remember
it.
that little person.
Yeah,
And it
this
has
is
some-
easy as he sketches it.
Has some
Yeah,
notes,
of
you know,
course, yeah.
It talks about
Exactly.
what crew is responsible. Like there's the Blob crew, makeup effects, miniature,
Wow.
optical, special effects, and notes.
Well, and there's a pretty big mix of miniatures and full size stuff here, right?
Yes, there is.
And,
You'd have no idea because it's really cleverly done. Yeah, there was some real amazing talent behind the scenes on this one. I was really lucky to be a part of it, honestly.
So
Yes.
I'm trying to think here. So we got those two. Well, I'm just going to throw these up real quick. We usually talk about
There we
posters.
go.
That's my favorite. That's what I remember.
The only thing I don't like about that is good luck reading that font.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Agreed.
that is a difficult read right there. I don't think
But it's a great shot.
Yeah.
It's a great.
So
Image.
why is it pink?
Well, and actually, initially in the first scenes, it's not so pink. It's more clear. Like when
Yeah.
the bums
Like,
got the blob on the stick.
Yeah. It actually, and when
It's
you
our
look
blob
at
on
it,
the
it looks
stick,
kind of
boys and girls.
goldy, like orange.
It turned colors. It turned redder as it went because it kept consuming the blood of humans.
Uh-huh.
Not just because pink is pretty.
This is
it
actually-
pretty though, and pink's not my favorite color. Obviously, it's black, but I
gets
do
redder.
find it. I do find it compelling when I see it on screen because of the vibrancy and stuff of it. And we don't see it that often, really.
Mhm.
But also, it kind of makes sense. I mean, if you think of it, it's the blob has been described as kind of a vampire that's a stomach, you know,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
because it's consuming, but it's all it is. It's just consuming. That's all it is. That's all it does. And so it looks kind of like internal organs churning around.
Well, and then it's interesting because once it like consumes this dude's hand, it does a hand shape. Like you see that it comes out like as a hand when it grabs someone. Did y'all notice that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think it's cool that it like takes the shape of kind of person.
Yeah, you're not really clear. It doesn't have any intelligence. It doesn't necessarily
I don't know though. It totally
obvious-
was chasing them though.
It was chasing.
It
the way it took
clearly
out-
was chasing
Yeah.
them.
The way it took out
You-
the flamethrower makes me think this thing's smarter than it's letting on.
Well, jellyfish have some sort of intelligence, and they look
I mean, I
Like
wouldn't let them do
blobs?
my taxes, but yeah, they
well.
got,
Fair enough. Yep.
I would have maybe used black lettering on this because I really
Yeah.
Oh,
Now this
Oh,
is a
yeah.
cool poster. You said this was Portuguese.
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
And that title, Abolha Assassina, translated to Killer Bubble.
Oh,
What were some of the other
sure.
titles? Weren't there some other crazy titles?
Oh God, there's a bunch of them. Let me get to the AKA.
La Mancha Boras,
Yeah.
the voracious stain. Oh my
That's
God.
great.
That's
never-
ridiculous.
You never know if the literal translation is really how it would be taken. Il fluido che uccida, the fluid that kills.
A fluid that kills.
See, that's a
El-
stretch. But see,
El terror no tiene forma. Terror
that's
has no
the most-
form.
yeah, that's
terror has
the
no
most-
shape.
That's
that's
poetic.
fair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one of the
Well,
things.
that's
And
like-
then
That
Tagline.
sounds a little bit familiar to me.
Yeah, the
Can you read
tagline.
this?
that's a tagline. Yep.
Mhm. Yep.
This is I'm wearing my blob.
Oh
crew
yeah.
shirt. Crew
Okay.
shirt.
Yeah, definitely. That's and
That's
these
you kept.
taglines
How did?
are-
Wow, you did a good
Yes.
job of
Well,
keeping stuff.
let's do. We'll do taglines too, but one more. I had to put these in just because usually I look for Germany has some complicated weird thing that has no connection to the movie. Their title is Der Blob.
Ah,
All
And
right.
the French title is Le Blob.
Oh my God, is it
Le
really?
Yeah.
Blob.
All right.
Ridiculous, but funny.
So we're gonna do.
Uh-oh.
We'll just throw this in. I was gonna skip it.
Taglines with
It's now time for taglines with Chad, as played by Bill Mulligan.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here we go. Great movie. Did the taglines measure up? Let's see. Tagline number 1. Man is no longer the supreme being on this planet.
Okay.
Well, they are worried that it's gonna at some point
Yeah, like the
consume the entire planet.
Oh yeah, I don't
Right.
see anything that would
Exponential
stop it. Second one, terror has no shape.
see, I do like that. I do
Yeah.
think it's interesting. Mm-hmm.
Scream now while there's still room to breathe.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fair. Sure.
Well, I guarantee you that's what Donovan Leach was thinking.
Yeah.
If I could just breathe.
I'd be okay. I like this next one. If it had a mind, you could reason with it. If it had a face, you could look it in the eye. And if it had a body, you could shoot it. But it doesn't because it's Der Blob.
But you're pretty much screwed, right?
Yeah, you are. SOL. Or Le Blob if you're French.
That's the best.
Now this one is just odd. On his 30th birthday, he's back, faster, bigger, hungrier, meaner, and deadlier than ever. Guess he'll have his cake and eat it too. What the hell were they thinking?
My
what
God.
were they thinking? This
That's
is not
funny.
King Kong. This is not Godzilla. Nobody has a personal relationship with the Blob that you're gonna, that's just dumb. Have his cake and eat it too.
Be sure you save room for Jello.
Ooh, oh yeah, like the kid. That was a good
Oh,
cut.
that was a great scene cut. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a variation on the other one. Scream now while you can still breathe.
Yeah, that works.
Okay, I kind of like that actually.
Okay, and this last one makes me appreciate the one about having his cake and eat it too, because this is like Hall of Fame terrible. Every brochure about household dangers should contain this warning: never reach in the sink for the Blob.
Well, okay, that's fair though. That's fair though.
What?
Okay,
That was
is
actually-
absolutely fair. Okay, I was like, this dude is insane. He's
That was a foreign
insane.
language poster.
Okay.
Okay.
And
Let's
translated, I arranged it a little bit to actually make more sense than it did when it
Oh,
was
okay.
originally translated.
All right.
Well, Crystal, to be fair, he didn't know what movie he was in.
Yeah.
But,
Character reach
but
into the-
regardless,
I
like,
know.
let me tell you, if you do not have all the breaker off for sure,
Yeah.
you could not pay me. I mean, because I
Yeah,
am,
I
but
agree.
I watch too much horror movies.
Yeah.
I get it. But
And
even still, just preservation of your hand should be
Yeah.
enough, you know?
But listen, even if you don't have a disposal, I'm not reaching in a sink. Best case scenario,
it's
it's bacon grease
disgusting.
and human hair. I don't want that. I
Ew.
don't want that on me.
And that's been Taglines with Chad, as played by Bill Mulligan.
Chad's our hero, cool and rad. With him reading taglines, they can't be that bad.
Love that
Yeah,
song.
there we are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Technology.
Well,
Oh,
let's hit a couple casts and then we'll get right into the effects here because that's what everybody wants to hear
That's
about.
right.
We've got Kevin Dillon. And by the way, I'm going to give my first impression was I did not go to this movie when it was in the theater because I looked at that Kevin Dillon character and went, nope, not going to see that hair. Nope, nope, nope.
What's funny is
Plus,
It's
I
not
was
like-
a lover of the original, which it's
Uh,
got its faults, but the
Sure.
oozing out of the projection windows. I mean,
It's a cool
that
movie.
fuels the nightmares.
No,
yeah.
I love that movie.
So anyway, but
I gotta be
now,
honest with you though. This is one of the best
it is.
remakes ever of all. Like The Thing, like The Fly.
So I forget.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I forget
Invasion
where I
of the
read
Body
it or where I
Snatchers,
said
too.
it, but they
Yep.
said
That yes.
the
thank
three
The
best
70s.
remakes are The Thing, The Fly, and
Yeah, that's
The
interesting.
Blob.
And you give honorable mention to, I think, the Invasion of the Body Snatchers was
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
That's ooh,
yeah.
So
that one
Jeff,
might-
now that you
might be
now that you
one,
have watched
actually.
it, what do you think of the character?
Oh, I thought the character was great. However, somebody, and I don't remember who it was. I think maybe it was Shawnee Smith in the commentary, said he hated that hair. It was like extensions, and he was like, "That's not."
Oh, it wasn't
Yeah,
even
blame
there.
him.
Okay.
That's not me.
That's funny.
I would like to point out also in the bottom picture, there is no weapon more ineffective against a blob than a hook.
I know.
Just FYI, any choice you could make would be better than that one. But okay,
Seemed like that could have been a good. Maybe we were just supposed to get the humor just from the visual, but it would have been a nice.
Return and I will poke you a second
that's
time.
right.
Yes.
That'll hurt.
No, I thought he was great. I think he had a bad background, a rough background,
Came from the wrong
and
side of
he
the
had a big
tracks.
chip on his shoulder. He had a problem with authority, but he had a heart of gold. When
Yeah.
it came to
Mhm.
treating people right.
Yeah,
right,
he treated
that
everybody
needed
well
help.
because he wasn't treated well, and yeah, I mean, he was sort of being portrayed as kind of like the punk character or whatever, but really he's not, which I thought was kind of cool.
And he does a great job playing that character.
Mhm.
Having
Yeah.
that swagger and that.
Swagger.
Yeah, people treated him like a juvenile delinquent. And it's like,
Mhm.
When people look at me and say I'm in a store or something, they give me the benefit of the doubt that I'm probably not going to
Yeah.
steal things or cause any mischief. But in his town, people look at this guy and they're like, okay, what's he up to this time?
Yeah, wrong
You know,
side of the tracks.
That's a rough situation.
All right, so
Scams.
that's Kevin Dillon, and then
Look at her hair, though.
Look at
Come
her
on.
hair.
Look
man.
at her
Right.
hair.
she has
1980.
extensions too. She has
Oh,
extensions.
she does.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, she said that. Oh, look at those extensions. She said so.
She looks
I
so
liked her.
cute, though.
And I will
yeah,
say
me too.
one of the
I love her.
improvements. Yeah, one of the improvements over the original. The female lead in the original, she was very cute, but she was just being helpless.
Yeah, she is a warrior. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
they're equal. And this is one of
Mm-hmm.
a few movies where they're really an equal. Like he saves her, she saves him. And they're both willing to do to stand on top of the truck with the AK-47.
Yeah. But then I like the touch, though, just when you think, oh, look, they're doing the cliche. She's the girl boss is going to take out the blob. And then she throws a bomb and jumps off and, man, gets hooked on it. Like, instantly takes a face fall because these are not, in fact, Marines. These are a couple of kids who have had to rise to the occasion and may not do everything exactly perfect,
And there she is in Saw.
In Saw. Yep. Very memorable in Saw.
So she was I just watched this. She was in a movie that came out this year called Bloodline Killer.
Oh.
It's about a slasher. It's a slasher movie called where the killer is called Skeleton.
What?
Okay,
you know what?
He's got a metal mask that makes a
Yeah.
skull, and she's it was okay. It was okay. And let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 Saw, 5 Saw movies.
Yep.
Grudge 3.
She's very pretty without being unrealistically pretty.
Yeah.
She's kind of got girl next door. If you
She's
happen to live in a good neighborhood.
She was so appealing in this movie.
Very appealing.
Yeah, she was.
Well, she's appealing and she could be funny. I mean, she's the reason I watched Becker, the TV show. She ran the diner across the street or something. That he was always anyway. Or does he buy it? I can't remember.
You're like you say, she's got some of the same qualities we see in our hero. Is that she's personally brave. When she sees her boyfriend being devoured by the blob, she doesn't do what I think most rational people would do, which is go nope and head for the opposite direction.
Yeah.
She grabs him by the arm. Now the arm comes off, so
I know, like,
but
I
she
was like,
tried.
has
The
she
important
touched
thing
it,
is she
though?
tried.
I know.
Even though
I
he
think
was-
I would have done the math and said, okay,
Yeah,
either one of us is going to be dead or both of us are going to be dead. I'm out of here.
It's
Good
like
luck
you're
with
half
that.
digested. Even if I saved you at this point, what am I saying?
Yeah.
That's a scene where if she'd have stood across the room petrified, I would have believed it.
Sure. Oh
Yeah. But they didn't. Yeah, they didn't show her the effect until.
Wow.
That moment.
Right.
So when she gives that first scream, it's the real deal.
That's cool.
And
she didn't even know that the actor was actually going to be inside of that slime.
Oh, he was? I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
know for sure.
Yeah.
I didn't,
Well,
honestly,
it was a
I had no idea what
combination,
that
but-
was.
But they did
Yeah,
a few things there.
You actually see his face. Yeah, it's actually him. But then there are other times when it's a puppet, and there are sometimes when it's like a miniature. They used a variety of effects and intercut. It's like in the Blob storyboards, that section takes up many pages because there are all these shots involved.
Okay, before I show this next guy, I have to ask Crystal.
Yes.
Do you know who Donovan, the rock singer, was?
No.
Did
Well, how about-
Hurdy-Gurdy Man?
How about songs? Songs
Mellow
you might
Yellow.
know.
Mellow Yellow.
Kill Me
Atlantis?
Mellow
Season of the
Yellow.
Witch.
Okay, yes,
White
I know
Striped
that song.
Blue.
I know that song.
Well, then you know
Oh.
Donovan.
Way down in Atlantis. That is Donovan Leach's dad.
No.
Donovan-
Wait, what?
Donovan,
Wait.
the rock star who was a contemporary of the Beatles, went
Yeah.
to the Maharishi with them, all that
But
stuff.
that's his dad?
That's it.
This guy?
No,
this guy is his
son.
son.
Oh, that's his dad. Okay, I
That
was going to
makes
say, I
more
was like, wait a
sense, right?
Well,
second.
most people
Yeah.
don't even know. If you asked them what Donovan's real last name was, they wouldn't know, but it's Donovan Leach.
Oh.
And this is Donovan Leach Jr.
Wow.
So I put him in here just because this guy is the he's the Janet Leigh of this movie.
That's right.
Yeah.
You think he's the hero?
That
He
is a
is
football
this
hero.
fresh-faced football hero.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah,
And honestly,
He's
Right.
not one of
he's
these
a
bad
decent
jocks from
actor,
the
too,
80s.
honestly. All the actors here.
He's
are
not
good,
like the
though.
jerk who molests the girl in the car and gets eaten by the blob, and you're like, well, that's what
No.
happens, dude. No, he's a
But-
good guy.
30 minutes into the movie, looks like he does in that bottom picture, and that's him
Yeah,
inside
that's-
that. And
Bye-bye.
they're
That's
pulling that stuff
crazy.
over his
Yeah.
face, and he's like,
Mm.
Yeah. They had like
That's awesome.
they had like a thin fiberglass shell over his face, and they had bladders, and they had these, Blob quilts they were pulling across, and I mean it's
Wow. It
it's
looked
very
great.
elaborate.
Yeah.
It's such a shocking scene because you don't expect this character
Mhm.
to end up like this, and also it's very elaborate. The effects, these are
Oh, I know.
the
Yeah,
most
that's what makes
elaborate
it
of
so
the
good.
makeup effects, and because they knew this really had to sell it, it's the first time that you see something
Right.
this horrific. They actually shot this effect at the end of the makeup effects schedule,
Ah.
so they had learned all this leading up to
Oh,
this,
that's good. That's
so that
good.
they could do the very best with this particular scene.
This must have felt like being
That's
waterboarded.
awesome.
that's what they said.
Yeah,
That's
but
exactly what they said.
he actually did have an oxygen supply, because if he didn't,
No.
he could have
He would-
been smothered. He could have
Yeah.
been.
Well, they
This
also
is
were,
actually starting to make me feel
suffocated.
claustrophobic. I'm
Yeah.
just starting to get freaked out now.
well, they talked about it.
Just
They
thinking
called
about
it
it.
basically special effects waterboarding, but they also talked about how they had to do short cuts
Mhm.
because they couldn't leave them
Yeah,
like that for a long time.
yeah.
So two of the
Not
other
every actor is up for that kind of thing.
No, no.
Well, I had to shoot underwater. Like, I had to go in full clothes. And this was just like not that
Mhm.
long ago. And
You
that
fi-
was so hard.
you find out why
Just-
the first thing you're supposed to do is strip off your clothes if you're drowning.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I was trying to swim in that, but I was actually supposed to go down and then be in the water because
Mhm.
I'm
Right.
dead, That was, I mean, and I'm a decent swimmer and shit, but that was like, I was like,
Yeah.
okay. And then when I needed to come up, they had a freaking a stunt person on set though. To
Good.
like, yeah.
Mhm.
But no, it was like a legit set.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was like, no, they actually had like
This wasn't a Bill Mulligan joint where we just Crystal jump in the pond.
It's like they had craft services. We had all that stuff. So, but yeah, that was actually the only time I've actually ever been a little bit scared. Not that I got close, but just the whole thing was tough.
Sure. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Everybody has.
So
their
that I can
phobias,
imagine that, and I don't even know how you would signal to like let them know that there was a problem. Whew.
Yeah. What? Yeah. What's your safe word? I'm
Exactly.
but so Donovan Leitch starts off as the hero and ends up like he does in the bottom, only actually it gets worse, which we'll see later. Then we have Jeffrey Munn and Candy Clark, the sheriff and the diner owner.
Oh, Candy
Who
Clark.
meet cute.
Who are
This
just
made
both
me
cuter.
sad because you
did.
totally think that they're going to be,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, they have
She's-
this
No,
connection
no.
starting, and what
Yeah.
happens?
She's trapped in the phone
Oh.
booth, surrounded by the Blob, and she's trying to call him, and she finally gets the police
And that
department, and they
her
say,
death-
"Oh, he's on the way to the diner."
Yeah.
Shh.
Her death is so violent.
Oh,
And I guess
yeah.
one of the things I like about this movie is it's got a lot of likable characters. The people who die in this movie really suffer. It's you feel bad because
You like that.
they're not, most times when a monster kills you, he stomps on you or something, it's a relative quick end. Not here. This is like a long, lingering, painful, worst way to die ever.
Well, that was great how they shot this because Ralph pipe in here, but the overhead shot, first they had an overhead shot of her, and then they had an overhead shot of like a reduced size dummy.
Yeah.
And then they crashed everything in on that. It was a super quick cut, but oh my god,
Very
that was a
effective.
good shot.
Yeah, they
Super
blasted slime in from all four sides, and it just demolished the miniature, the mannequin.
Yeah, and there's him. He's floating by in the ectoplasm of the Blob or whatever.
Oh,
whatever that
yeah.
is. It's
Like, so Sean, when we were watching this, I was like, oh no, the sheriff died. And he's like, what do you mean? We didn't see the sheriff die. I was like, oh, Jesus. There's the star right there, babe. There was like the star. Did you see the star? And he's like, but we didn't see him. I was like, you didn't need. Okay.
Were they on the phone at the time or something?
No,
Well,
no. And he loved the movie too. He was like, oh, so good.
And I think that was
sweet. That's just
shoot. I think that was Tony Gardner.
What?
Well, he had that. He sculpted that and or made it in some way, and then it was inside an aquarium that they pushed up against the glass of the thing. And,
yeah, that's right. Yeah, Tony Gardner was manipulating that body, and they had cable controls and things moving the eye.
Yeah, his eyes move. That's the other thing. Oh my god.
So he's still somewhat conscious at this stage. It's like horrible.
But Jeffrey, I mean, we've done a lot of stuff with them. Jeffrey DeMunn, Walking Dead. He was Dale in The Walking Dead early on. The Mist, The Green Mile, Storm of the Century, Shawshank Redemption. He was on The Hitcher just a couple years before this.
Oh yeah, the Hitcher.
He was the sheriff in that.
Isn't he? He's on Billions too, right?
He
That's
is.
the show.
I
love Bill. I love Damien.
And he was in Christmas Evil in 1980.
And Candy Clark will always be a favorite of mine for A Man Who Fell to Earth. Love
Yeah.
that.
I know that's one of your favorites, and I still have to watch that. But American Graffiti, she was in
American
The Big
Graffiti.
Sleep with Robert Mitchum. Q, The Winged Serpent.
Oh, right. Yeah, Q. Larry Cohen.
Amityville 3D. I don't know. Cat's Eye.
I went to see it.
Oh,
of course.
nice. Yep, we did. We did Cat's Eye too.
We did
yep.
Cat's Eye.
Yes, we did. Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie.
Yes.
Cherry Falls, a 1999 slasher flick. She gets it here, and then Bill. Let's see, we got some other cast member. There's Joe Seneca on the top.
Yeah, he was very effective. I mean, at first he really does seem like the kindly scientist who might be able to, get us out of trouble. But his true colors show pretty early, and then he turns up the menace. And of course, I love that guy in the middle. I'll always remember him as the guy who just died horribly in RoboCop. I mean, good.
They got
Lord.
a name for him too. Was it the slime guy or the? How did he die in RoboCop?
The melty guy. They call him the melty guy.
That's it. Paul McCrane.
Paul McCrane. That's right.
Who ends up being
the deputy,
an asshole doctor in ER.
Oh, he was great in ER. He had he had the best death ever in ER. Just yeah. He's a really good actor. He's got a lot of range. He can play a butthole real well.
Well, he has a nasty death too.
Yeah. Yes. Oh God. Yes. Yeah. Gets
Gets
folded like a sandwich.
Oh Lordy.
Yeah. Yep.
And who's the guy on the right there in the middle?
Well, that's him in RoboCop.
That's him melting in RoboCop.
Yeah. Oh, that's him in RoboCop.
Yeah. I had to put that in there.
Dumb.
He's melty guy.
The audience was screaming when that guy died in RoboCop. I saw that again opening night, and when he comes and just his fingers flopping around like gets hit by a car and explodes like a cantaloupe. It was great.
I don't know what you guys think of it, but I always remember Joe Seneca from Crossroads. None of you even saw that.
Crickets.
Well, it seems like you should because, okay, it's about a guy that sells his soul at the crossroads, right? To the devil. Ralph Macchio plays a guy who's learning how to play blues guitar who went to a conservatory to play classical guitar, but he didn't like it. And Joe Seneca is the one who's teaching him. And then they go to what do they call it when you have a guitar fight off? There's a name for it.
Oh, like a duel? Like a duel. Yeah.
He goes to this bar at the crossroads to defeat the guy that sold his soul to the devil, who is Stevie Vai.
Oh, like the dueling banjos kind of thing.
It's Steve Vai.
Okay. It's like the song.
It's like the devil went down to Georgia.
Yes, that's what I mean.
But
Golden Fiddle.
I don't. You guys are. I know everybody's going. Oh, come on, talk about this movie.
Geez, Jeff.
But
you didn't even see this movie, did you, Jeff?
The movie
You're
I did.
stalling.
But Crossroads, the music is done by Ry Cooder. And one of the best guitar solos I've ever heard, or guitar, slow blues slide guitar, is phenomenal. He played in that. All right. Joe Seneca. And then we have Del Close.
Oh, yeah.
I love Del Close. Who's
in
in another Blob movie? The second Blob. This is his second Blob movie.
He was in Beware the Blob.
Beware the Blob.
Well, that's not.
Yeah, he was a bum sitting next to the director of the
Larry
movie.
Hagman.
Larry Hagman, right?
And wasn't also Burgess Meredith in that scene?
Yes. Yeah.
Like he got a bunch of his buddies together and shot a. But he was awesome in this. He is like my favorite character in this movie because
you'd go to this church, wouldn't you?
Yeah, he's got such a unique look, even when he's just okay, and then when he gets burned. And I will put the ending of this movie, that final shot, as one of the best cliffhanger shot. You know, oh, please make a sequel. That is brilliant. And sadly, we never got to see what happened when he let it out of the jar. But
well,
he's a great ending.
I love that scene where he's in the drugstore. And he
and
walks up to the kid who's buying the car.
Right. Yeah.
Well, how you doing? Well, I'm pretty good.
Now, Ralph, back me up on this. I believe because we've done this movie before years ago on Decades of Horror before we had Crystal and everybody. That last shot at the bottom, that's not really his hand, is it? That's
Correct.
like a fake hand.
Oh.
Forced perspective.
Why?
It's really cool.
Yeah, it's a fake hand so that they could have cables
and there's a cable that comes up and moves
manipulating the blob inside of the jar. Yeah.
Oh, that's so freaking smart.
Kind of like in John Carpenter's The Thing when they do the blood test so they can have the blood come jumping out. You know, that was a fake hand.
Very cool.
You know, the little
So he was
These guys are way ahead
Petri
of him.
dish, the Petri dish.
He was with Second City TV, right?
Mm-hmm. He's considered one of the great improv actors and coaches for improv. He's really well respected. The legend also is when he died, he willed his skull to be left to a theater so that when they performed Hamlet, that they would actually use his skull.
That's the way to go.
That is
Yeah.
awesome.
I knew him well.
Yep.
The fellow
Okay.
of infinite jest.
Cool guy.
So let's see some effects. This guy was known as, he's billed as the Can Man.
Can Man.
That's fair. I mean, let's be real. It was a very clever way to crush cans. Okay, like the pot, or the skillet.
Billy Beck. Billy Beck is
Mhm.
the actor's name.
Oh.
And he's funny.
Yeah.
This movie
Yeah, look at
is
that
really,
bottom picture. Right,
yeah.
this guy.
That's nasty stuff.
Yep.
Makes me hungry for pizza, though, I gotta say.
This movie is
I know, right? Yeah.
this movie is really smartly written because they have all these bits
Mm-hmm.
that they introduce to you and then they come back later. So in that middle scene, well, before he does that, one of the first times we see him, he's by the bridge where Kevin Dillon is going to jump the bridge and his bike wipes out.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there, right? Well, then later he jumps the bridge and they do this thing where I think they got cop cars on both sides and a helicopter right above it. And they did that live.
Yeah.
They got
right.
all those in the shot at the same time. And think about it, though.
Yeah, the motorcycles jump the bridge, and there's a truck coming after it, barreling down the road, and there's a helicopter overhead, and all in one.
And the helicopter's like, it's way lower than it should be.
After Twilight Zone.
That's
Yeah.
It doesn't always end well.
Exactly. And they said that the stunt guy that rode the motorcycle, that it flattened both tires when he hit. And he was able to muscle it and keep it up to complete the shot.
Yeah, he was holding the motorcycle up, and he was on his feet.
That's awesome.
That's some nasty stuff there, though. I mean,
Yeah.
they pull the cover back and like, yeah.
This guy was so drunk, the blob didn't even bother eating all of them. It got as much as it needed and said,
Well, and it's all bubbling and gurgling too.
oh, yeah,
Yeah,
that looked
not
really
just-
super nasty.
And smoking.
good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, smoking too.
It's
Yeah,
wild.
you can see some of that. But
That
that's
was-
this part, when he pulls the blob out with a stick, that's pretty close to what happens in the original one.
Yeah.
They
Yes.
follow that pretty close because then he holds it up and then he turns it down and the blob goes
Just,
up,
nope.
which it does in the original
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
I also like when he tries to cut his arm off and he gets it, and then the blob just moves right over the wound, and it's like,
Oh, yeah.
all for nothing.
Yeah.
So whap that hatchet down. That's crazy.
Rough.
Rough.
All right, and then we have
And then they try to blame it all on the Donovan Leitch character.
Right, of course.
Oh yeah, that's so. Come on, that's so ridiculous. I was like, what do you think he did to his
Yeah.
hand? I mean, come on. Like, does that look like anything to you? Even if they're teenagers. Well, teenagers.
this
are
is
young.
Ricky Paul Golden.
This scene. Oh my
Not
god.
a nice guy.
No.
Mr. Date Rape here.
Getting a little
Yeah.
warm. Did you notice
Yeah.
he had that set up in the trunk of his car? Right?
Mm-hmm.
He sure
Did
did.
you notice he had like 3 class rings hanging there on a board?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
Oh,
of
he's
course.
a pig. He's
This
such
was
a
his
pig.
chick,
It's a dog. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-mm-mm.
Now the puckered face was I don't know.
That was a
what
little. Yeah. That didn't.
I
yeah,
liked it. I thought it was fun.
But I thought it was cool when the tentacles come out. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
And wrap
So
around
it is one little. I mean, it's a movie about a blob, but it does seem unlikely that she could have been devoured internally without making a sound, or everybody else dies screaming, but she just.
Well, unless it just took over really quick. I mean,
She was,
if
she
you
was
liquefy,
passed out and she
Yeah, I guess that's
if
true.
you
That's-
liquefy
she was passed
someone's
out.
organs,
he
yeah.
roofied her, right? Didn't he?
Well, yeah.
Or
Yeah.
did he
Yeah.
just give her like
Yeah.
too many Colorado Kool-Aid?
She was a lightweight.
edibles?
Yeah.
Did you notice? I wanted to mention this too. Art LaFleur, who played the pharmacist, and
The dad, yeah.
Shawnee Smith's dad,
Mhm.
who they have that scene where he goes up to buy the ribbed ones, and they say
Yeah.
it's for the other guy, and
Right.
Yeah.
they
The
have
other
it
guy
like-
being.
Yeah, yeah.
He's
Dr.
a great character actor, and that
Mhm.
this is strange to me, but 2 of my favorite baseball movies. He's in The Sandlot,
Oh
where
yeah,
he-
and Field of Dreams, right?
and Field of Dreams, where he plays one of the
I
one of the
love
Black
him.
Box players.
Unfortunately, he's passed away. But,
Yeah, he's a real dad kind of character. I
Yeah.
think.
Oh yeah.
And then this guy, Paul Ricky Golden. This guy is Mr. Soap Opera.
Oh, that makes sense.
He was in
yeah, it does.
59 episodes of The Young and the Restless, 276 episodes of Guiding Light, 467 episodes of All My Children.
Wow.
So if you like the Blob, you should check out all those shows.
There you go.
And 137 episodes of Another World. All of this was after The Blob, but way back in 1982, he was in Piranha 2, The Spawning.
Oh, that's the important one.
I'll bet he dies.
directorial
I'll bet he
debut.
dies. Yeah. But yeah, that was nasty. I don't know if you could you do that now? I guess he gets his come up and stuff.
I mean, yeah, you know, yeah,
Oh.
sure.
Yeah, I mean, see, this is one case where it's kind of like a Tales from the Crypt scenario,
Yeah.
where somebody is awful and something awful happens to them.
He's unbuttoning her blouse, looking down her blouse.
While she's asleep.
Going, it's kind of hot out here. There, doesn't that feel good? And then sticks his hand down in there and
Regrets
He doesn't get it back.
pulls out a blob. Yeah.
All these tentacles start coming out of her face.
So another great scene. Oh, you did have that face in there.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Little out of sequence in this shot.
So the sink guy.
Oh, that was a sink. Okay, I was like, what? Oh, yeah.
Well, the guy in the bottom is the sink, and the guy is after he goes down. Yeah. It grabs him and pulls him in head first through the pipes. The pipes magically bulge
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
as
that's
ridiculous
a little bit
as it is.
cartoonish there.
It's
that part.
cool. Yeah. And his two legs in his hand just keep kind of going up.
And everything goes down the drain. Everything.
Yes.
Well, I guess maybe the body was being dissolved very rapidly so that it was flexible enough to squeeze into that little hole down the sink.
Yeah.
Sure.
But that's a universal fear, though, right?
Oh, absolutely. You don't know what's down there. It's
Sticking your
good.
hand down the drain, you don't know if what if the garbage disposal is on and it's just jammed, and
it's like there better be a wedding ring down there, otherwise.
Oh, there has to be something
Yeah.
major. Yeah, there better be a small child down there before I'm reaching it.
That was in the diner, and then we got some more Blob rampage.
There he is,
Oh,
just
now we're talking. Look
Glopping
at the
around.
size of that monster.
So that the bottom picture is next stage of Donovan Leach.
Yeah.
His comeuppance. Yeah.
And his arm's about to stretch out, come off into a glob. And that stuff, sometimes the simplest things are the best. Because I'm sure that the arm, the arm's laying there and the fingers are moving. That was like an arm through a hole in the floor, right? Attached to a prosthetic.
Oh yeah, for that.
I don't think.
Yeah,
it was
once it's already off the body. Yeah.
And then the theater, that was just.
Whoa.
The,
So what did
the strobe lighting too really was effective. That really helped sell it.
Epic.
Yeah, it did. And I was wondering what you guys thought of, because isn't part of this somewhere in here is the stop motion animation? Is that?
I think the part that I noticed, the stop motion, I believe, tell me if I'm wrong, is where we have like the blob's eye view with the cameras going down the street behind the blob, and you see it like reaching and with tentacles grabbing soldiers and stuff.
You know what, Bill? I don't believe that is.
Really?
Yeah. Now, I worked on a very complicated miniature man, but I can't remember the name of the mechanic who's working alongside me. He worked on very simple but jointed cable-controlled figures, so they could flail a little bit. And so there actually is like mechanical tentacles and these flailing cable-controlled bodies to make it look like this small blob, tabletop-sized blob, was actually, enormous enough that it could fling people
did
around.
A great job.
Yeah, that was wild. That's one of those really classic shots. It's like this thing's glopping down the street, and these tentacles are whipping around with these little people struggling, and
And these guys are shooting at it, which is only slightly more effective than the big metal hook. In other words, not at all. It's like,
them shooting at it. It's like, are they really like? Oh, come on.
At what point do you just give up? It's like, I don't think it has a weak spot. You know.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, that's embarrassing for y'all.
Yeah, the best you can do is try to attract his attention so it doesn't get somebody else. But
yeah,
that's true.
Weapons aren't very effective against this.
All right, so more Blob.
Oh yeah.
Look at everything. Just looks so good. See
Now
all
this,
that?
I think this. I think this is just a behind the scenes picture of a something in the top.
Something.
I'm not sure what it was used for, but I thought it was cool.
Yeah. Okay. So
cool.
I'd like to explain a little bit. We talked about the Blob quilts, but Tony Gardner's side was responsible for all the dissolving people.
Oh, okay.
And incredible stuff. The makeup effects side. They got that little box on the bottom of the storyboard. And one thing they did for these dissolving or dissolved people, where they didn't have to have a lot of movement or anything, is they used a combination of materials to make that look. Okay. So I'm going to show you something that I made that is made the same way. And so this is
I love it.
A creature that I made, and you can see it. Strangely enough, it has this monstrous head at the bottom. It has a sort of a caterpillar-like body or something with claws and a baby's head. Okay, now I had to put a lot of paint on the head because I was trying to blend some patches I did. But if you look at some of this, like you can see how it has kind of a fleshy look to it. It has kind of it's a little hard to tell with this lighting, but it has a somewhat translucent appearance. And the way that is achieved is by first just skinning the casting inside of the mold with a urethane elastomer that is translucent. It happened to be, I believe, Polytech well, anyway, it's a urethane elastomer, so it's something that chemicals you mix up, and it gives you this kind of translucent effect. And then inside of that, they would fill it with polyfoam, which is kind of like what couch cushion material is made of.
Yeah.
You mix these parts together, and they intrinsically colored it. So there was already some coloring that went inside of this translucent skin. And then they do some very, delicate painting on top of it, but not so much as to completely cover it with an opaque coverage. You want the beautiful translucent quality to show through. And so that's how they got to achieve these effects of something that looked something like skin. Nowadays, of course, they often use silicone to get the same kind of effect. And that's why some modern appliances look better than the old ones that were foam latex, because those didn't let light through at all. Yeah. And the teeth would be dental acrylic resin, which is kind of like what temporary dentures would be made of.
Well, and that's actually what they make fangs and stuff out of, too.
Precisely, yeah. In fact,
that's actually, I'm thinking of buying some because I have my teeth mold.
Yeah, they're very cool.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, then do it for sure.
Yeah,
oh, you'd be great. You look so good. I just
want
to say
that I have had some, but yeah.
That one on the bottom, that was another pretty daring thing. They don't usually kill kids in these movies.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Oh, the kid look, obviously that's not a kid down there.
Right. That is a stunt man, because he goes like flying backward through the water for like 20 feet.
Yeah. I was like, that was not the kid, because I knew that immediately. But I was like, oh, well, that kid was a bad influence.
Well, he's a kid. Wait.
Okay,
Crystal,
but this is a bit harsh.
Crystal, I'll bet you were the kid who would drag their friends to go see horror movies. You were the bad influence.
Totally
the Garden Tool Massacre.
I totally was the bad influence. Yeah. But you know what? I didn't get caught by the blob. That's all
true.
I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Well,
so that makes you better.
It does. It does.
seeing them in this water reminds me of they were talking about how cold that water was.
Oh,
And that somebody said that you can't make it warm because it makes it too easy for stuff to grow.
Yeah, that's
Like
true.
it starts to get stinky after a while.
Yeah, that is true. That's what you tell your actors.
Well, it is
Yeah,
supposed
well,
to be
that's what
sewer
they told
water.
And that middle shot is another stage of Donovan Leitch, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of that top one where that's from. Just
well,
just somebody that was ate by the blob, I suppose. It was
yeah. It might have been
a bad day.
Might have been one of the people in the theater or something.
Looks like me if I haven't had enough sleep.
Well, the thing that creeped me out about that is how much room there is between the lower lip and the lower teeth.
Yeah.
That it's just
oh yeah,
like teeth are in the right place, but the skin and the flesh are just
a lot of gum.
Yeah, it was so gnarly what they did with these dissolving people. It's the kind of thing that you never saw in the old 50s movies.
I think that this is where the people doing the sculpting just were like having a blast, right?
Yeah, they had some really incredible sculptures on Tony's side. Yeah. There we go. There's that shot, that rig.
So he's obviously not inside that. I don't think they used that particular shot. Unless they draped a quilt over it after that.
They may well have.
Yeah, I think this is just them
I think they did.
putting the pieces together. They still have to get the arm in there.
I think they shot some full-size stuff, miniature stuff, stuff on the actor, Donovan Leitch. And I think they had some editorial choice and some shots worked better than others. So they just went with the best of it, I think. Yeah.
It's... I don't know. Part of me thinks, oh God, it would be cool to work on a new movie, but the other part of me is like going, oh my God, that looks tedious.
Oh, look at the sculpture.
Isn't that beautiful? That's gorgeous.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
At least one of the people on Tony's team, Brian Wade, worked on John Carpenter's The Thing as well. Yeah. So they had some really top flight people. And many of the people who worked on the film were quite young. I was not as young as some people. I was probably 30 when I worked on this movie, but some were, like just out of high school or something. Tony himself, who was in charge of all of those makeup effects, he started when he was 18. His first job was working on Michael Jackson's Thriller. So he got to play one of the ghoul monsters, and he worked on that. That was his first professional work.
I think they said he was like 24 in this.
He was 24. Wow. Yeah. Which is, when you think of all the responsibility, all the pressure on a person at that age, just like, on John Carpenter's The Thing, think of how young Rob Bottin was. He was just early 20s himself, and that was a huge
put him into a hospital. This gentleman on the bottom, is he an amputee?
Yes.
Ah.
Oh.
Well, if it's no. Yes.
He's missing 2 legs and 1 arm.
Oh wow.
He's the
and
one
I think
that,
1 eye also.
Oh boy.
She comes up and lifts him up.
And
he kind of sees the stuff stretching up from the Yes, he is. Yes.
That was a really memorable shot. It
Oh yeah.
Dude, that stuff. Anyway.
Yeah. It looks awesome.
Somewhere I think on the Blu-ray or the 4K, actually, the Blu-ray that came with it had most of the extras on it. There was some films of guys doing test stuff where they were pouring things together. And
yes, right. That kind of like the Can Man. When you see him looking kind of like half pizza, half man, that you see them. You see them throwing little things into this, and they were experimenting. They were getting soap bubbles and dry ice and maybe AB smoke. I don't know, just a combination of things to try to get some interesting effects.
The thing on the ceiling was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
And
so
that was Go ahead.
That was a rare case where it was a sculpted, molded, and cast blob on the ceiling. as opposed to these other things that were the blob quilts and things like that, because it was on the ceiling, and there's no way you could control this this incredibly heavy,
right,
slimy, fragile blob quilt material if it was on the ceiling. There he is. There he is.
Oh, look at that. That looks so sweet.
Yeah. So
well, the cool thing about that was this. Well, go ahead.
Okay. Well, in that case, Tony Gardner's crew would work on the face area, just anything that is the human part of it. And the rest of it, I believe, was sculpted by Lyle Conway's Blob crew. So this is one case where there's a very close interaction between the two sides of the shop.
Yeah, and the neat thing about that shot is they show the projectionist, and he was a really interesting looking character, and he's doing a yo-yo. Yeah, and then he hears something and goes up, and the next thing you know, when somebody else comes in there, you see this yo-yo hanging down from the ceiling. It's kind of like when the military guy, when the big sort of giant pod flops on the military guy, just before it hits him, he's like pulling the rings on grenades on his vest. And then they come back maybe 5 seconds later as I think Shawnee Smith's running by the blob out there, and you see these two bright flashes within the blob.
Yeah, just kind of like this kind of muffled boom sound.
Yeah, that was great.
It's like, okay, that didn't work.
Another one of those things where they show you and then I don't know. I just think it's really well written.
I do too. I like how you notice the fact that people are gone after the fact. But it's obvious.
Yeah.
Like that was obviously the sheriff.
Even that cool little shot where the blob hand kind of slams down on a person and then peels back like the octopus from a Ray Harryhausen movie, and you still see this guy on it.
So Bill, I believe that is stop motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you know that there's actually some computer graphics in this movie? Maybe
really?
Yes.
Yeah. But it's just the little the twinkle sparkling on the crystals.
Oh, yes. That did look cool.
Not for blobs itself. Yeah, I understood that ILM was bidding on the blob, and of course they asked for way too much money. And Dennis Murin really wanted to push computer graphics and use computer graphics for the blob, but they didn't go for it.
If they had done anything else, I guarantee this movie probably wouldn't have been as big of a success as it is now.
I forgive everything that looks a little awkward, because who the hell knows what the blob looks like when it's moving?
Right.
Yeah.
And as it's getting bigger and it starts to get a little faster, and then when it kind of like folds over itself sometimes, that's just so cool.
I think the effects are great. The only effects that don't work 100% for me, there's a couple of like green screen shots where the characters run across the screen and there's mayhem in the background, and it looks a little too processed, a little too chroma keyed.
Okay.
But other than that, it's great. The effects are here. These are practical effects, and the way that you guys did so many different tricks. When you mentioned that there were different techniques, it's like if a magician keeps making cards disappear the same way, eventually you figure out how he does it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a really effective way to go about doing special effects. Yeah, keep people guessing.
Yeah.
So the arms that came out of it, or I don't know what you call those, pseudopods or something.
Yeah, you could call them pseudopods. Yeah,
that come out. Those were like cable activated for the most part, and miniatures.
Yeah, they came in different shapes and sizes. Like when there's blob tentacles coming through that girl's face in the back of the car, or the same kind of tentacles coming like going after Shawnee Smith when she's trying to get out of the sewer, trying to climb up out of the water. I have something to show you.
Oh, cool. Oh,
something to show you here. I actually stole some little pieces here that show you what was inside of some of the tentacles. So what you see here, that's a disc Well, I guess you could have figured that out. But it's got a big hole in the center, and it's got 4 holes around the center, and then some 4 holes around the edges.
Okay.
So the holes, the big hole in the middle would be for either a plastic rod, like nylon rod or something, to make sort of like the spine of the tentacle, and then the little holes in the middle would be to run more cable housings, that's the outside of the cable, through these holes to reach yet another set of these discs. So you wouldn't have just one, you'd have a whole array of these bigger discs, and then you've got another size down, that's the same concept, and then you've got another size down, and then you've got another size down, and there's even a little tiny one there. That's really small. So the idea is, by having these extra holes and running cables through that aren't being used by these bigger ones, you can have not just this, but you can have this.
Oh, okay.
See? So this is working separately from this, and you have a joystick, maybe with a couple of joints.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And that way you can get interesting movement. You know, it's a common technique for tentacles. But something else that's interesting is that some of the tentacles were, instead of being essentially cylindrical in cross section, were more flat. They're more like you might think of a pseudopod, or sometimes we call them flippers or paddles.
Or the slime is oozing, the blob's oozing,
like it's
out.
Oozing out, or oozing under a door or something. And for that, we had nylon, rather thin nylon, that would be cut. It might be straight, or it might be in a kind of an S curve or some kind of odd shape. And then as that one has the cables pulled, instead of just going like this, it's going to kind of wrap around like that. So you get a more interesting movement, because not just by virtue of it being flat, but by virtue of having this odd shape and this odd routing of the cables, that, you know, it's trying to curl up, and the path of least resistance is to curl around and not just simply curl up. So that's kind of an interesting thing, and that's what
it is.
This block here, all it is a square with 4 holes in it, and then on the edge there's a little hole as well. So the edge hole is for you to screw it into one of these flat pieces of nylon, this flexible plastic, and then the 4 holes, of course, for cables. So you'd have just a series of these blocks along this flat piece that might be straight or might be like S-curved or something, and that is how some of these flatter looking pseudopods were mechanized. Yeah,
cool.
That's awesome. Yeah.
No, it is. That's
sounds hard to make, though.
Oh yeah.
There was a lot of stringing cables, a lot of
takes some skill to. Well, I'm sure there's some skill on how to maneuver it to look good too. You know.
Yeah, and you know, one thing is that for some movies, some crews have a lot of time to rehearse and puppeteer and practice. Like I'm sure, you know, when Lau Conway worked on Little Shop of Horrors or Dark Crystal before he worked on that.
Oh my God!
These are the Henson people, the puppet people, and their, you know, rehearsal is a big part of what they do, and so that's built into the schedule. But here we were just slammed, just trying to finish stuff, and in terms of time to rehearse, there just really wasn't much there, which is one reason why for this miniature man that I made that was cable controlled, I tried to make it in such a way that you wouldn't really need a lot of rehearsal to get a lot of action out of this miniature man. And I don't know if you have any pictures of the theater scene with the little man in it. I showed you the storyboard picture, and you can see there's just this huge blob and there's a little man there. And that was what we called the loudmouth theater patron.
Ah.
He was like about oh yeah, so it's in that scene.
Yeah.
But before the blob is on the ground there, it's up in the projection booth, and it's coming out of the projection booth, and it grabs this man out of the seat, and he's like lifted up in the air with the actual stunt man. And then to show that this blob is really massive and engulfing him and swallowing him up, that's when this miniature man came into play. And I happen to have a couple of things that I can show you that give you an idea of how the technology for that evolved. So this is not that, but just, the concept is you've got these little housings, these little tubes basically, that in this case a monofilament goes through, and you've got hinges, and on the back side you've got some elastic, so it will naturally return straight. But and Tony's crew did this. They made mechanical hands and things, the very same method. Now, if you wanted to also be able to flex back the other way, it's not enough to just have something that holds it straight. You have to have a cable on the other side as well. And so that's where we come up with something like this. So this was a prototype to suggest basically what we need in a joint and how it's going to be controlled. So in this case, I just took simple plates of plastic and a couple of rods of plastic here, and there's a little rod through for the little fulcrum, and then a block of plastic here. And this Delrin block is what the cable goes through. There's a bigger hole at one end for the housing to go up to, and then just the cable comes through here. And it's a single cable. It's not two separate cables. It's a single cable, and there's a set screw that holds it in place. And that's so that when you pull one way or the other, it's going to move this. And then there's also another set screw that is to make a stop. So like if you have an elbow, you don't want it to go backwards.
Right.
You want it to come to a stop, and the same with the knee. So anyhow, since this was just for, just for demo purposes to prove the concept, I just looped the wire and just taped it up to make these simple loops. And so you can see as I pull one way, it goes one way. As I pull the other way, it goes the other way. So, it's just like our muscles. We have flexors and we have extensors, same idea. So now just multiply that by a dozen or more, and you can have a lot of parts moving on a body. And that's where this comes into play. Just a moment. I have to move the screen, so I'm going to go off mic for a second. I need a little room here. Okay. So here, this actually has some of the very same metal parts that we used in the movie for this miniature Blob Man. And this shows you how it works. It doesn't work as well as the Blob Man worked because some parts are made of plastic. It's just a prototype, but you'll see what we're up to here.
Wow.
Okay.
Let's see. So hopefully I can, I've got that at about the right height. Okay, let's see. Should I move back a little more? A little more. Okay, there we go. Okay, so you see here, this is one arm, and it has a handle here, and this is an arm that has a hand at the end of it. So this is what's called a Waldo, or some people call it a master-slave system. You have one armature controlling another. You might have seen behind the scenes shots of this kind of thing, but here's the idea.
I like
what this does, that one does.
Oh, sure.
It's got the elbow. It's got the hand that moves back and forth, and you can swing the arm like that, So that's the basic concept of how that miniature Blob Man was intended to work. So
you wouldn't want to be in range of those claws there, don't you?
So that is, so I've shown you some of the remnants I have from those days. 37 years ago when I was working on the Blob, and so those the frames of the joints, I didn't build those. They were farmed out to someone who was better at machining than me, but he wasn't perfect at it because I would do these nylon wheels or pulleys that are in the middle of these clevises or frames with pulley. But the metal parts were farmed out to a machinist, and every one of them was a little different. So when I used a lathe to cut these wheels that go in the middle, and they have to fit nice and close, I had to cut each one a different length because there was just no quality control. So I had to measure each one and make sure that it was just right, because otherwise it just didn't work. Anyway, I think this technology is really fun. And,
I do too.
but the funny thing is that it was shot at, this miniature man was shot at Doug Beswick's facility. He's a great stop motion animator, doing other kinds of effects as well. And they opted to actually take the master armature off of it and just use the little miniature man and rig it up to some interesting multi-axis controllers that Doug Beswick's shop happened to have on hand. So maybe it was just more reliable or easier to adjust and tighten. I don't know. I wasn't actually there for that, but I just thought it'd be kind of interesting to show you. Oh yes, and we were talking about dental acrylic used for teeth.
Yes.
I actually have here some. This is a set of miniature teeth for that man.
Cute.
Teeth.
This actually has some flaws in it, some little bubbles, and that's why I got to keep that, and it wasn't actually in the miniature man. But it's kind of fun. Along with my screws and nuts and bolts and things, I have this Blob teeth container with my little teeth in it. Yeah. So there you go. Just a little bit of the animatronic stuff.
I think that's just fascinating. I don't know. People listening on the audio podcast might not get much out of it.
You're missing out, people.
You'll have to come to the
you want to
check us out on the YouTube channel. Well, I don't know. Do we have? I did want to mention there's some really cool cinematography in this by Mark Irwin, and one of the things I thought was cool, and I always think of Crystal when I see a lot of smoke and fog.
Because they do have a good fog machine and those lights.
Those sheets those shots at night where they were out there and Kevin Dillon was sneaking around behind the trees and stuff. That was so cool.
When they have the helicopter and then they see these lights coming out and this noise and they're like, "What is that? Oh no!"
Yep.
It kind of reminded me of E.T., where they used a lot of smoke and
it was
shafts of light through the woods there.
I also wanted to mention that we had two Playboy playmates in this film. Erica Aleniak, who was the date in the car, I think was in Playboy after this.
Yes,
but she was also in a action movie with Steven Seagal. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but I'll have to go look that up. And the other one was Julie McCullough, and she was, we haven't mentioned this, but there's a movie within the movie.
The Garden Tool Massacres.
Yes, the Garden Tool Massacre. Yeah. The blonde in that, I think, is Julie McCullough. Her character's name was Susie. Anyway, I just, to me, this is one of those movies, when you learn about all the stuff going on in the background, this is one of those movies where you just go, it's amazing that this came out like that. And as good as it was, then the studio screwed up and didn't publicize it. But it has since become kind of I don't want to call it a cult classic, but I think it's far better known now than it was.
Oh, it's a cult classic.
Is it?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, absolutely. This
it's
film
far-
is like top tier.
Well, a cult
now.
classic to me kind of
For
means
sure.
like a small group of people are over really nuts about it.
Well, I don't
Maybe
think
I'm
it
wrong about that.
necessarily means like a Plan 9 from outer space. I think that,
Okay.
but I think the concept is
What's
that
Plan 9 from outer space?
Oh, you
What?
don't. Well, we'll talk later.
Wait, did you
I'm
see
making a joke. I'm making a joke.
Okay.
I'm making a
Oh,
joke, and
okay.
I'm making the point. here.
Donovan did the score for it. That's like,
well,
I'm
no.
sorry. Was that too? I
No,
didn't
no.
mean to
I
make
think
it
the
so.
concept, but that could be a qualify. It could qualify. But the idea is that it didn't, on its initial release, it didn't find an audience,
Right.
but gradually it developed an audience. That
Yes.
this cult of people who saw the film and loved it and would tell their friends about it. You know, it's something that gradually built over time, and that's true of a lot of films, a lot of these genre
Yeah, a
films.
lot of the
Yeah.
80s.
A lot of the
Yeah.
80s films were that way. Blade Runner, The Thing, The Blob. I mean,
Killer
Yeah.
Clowns.
Right.
Like people love that movie now. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's awesome. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
and there's all kinds of like T-shirts and you know,
Oh, I've
all
got
kinds-
purses.
all
And,
kinds of
well, and
merch.
then yeah, look, there's
Sure.
Glenn.
there's,
all that.
there's the clown.
when you look up
And actually,
well, mine are in
got
the
more
background
hanging.
too.
Yeah, see.
Oh yeah, I
Got
see him.
Yeah.
I see him.
That's right. I just got
The-
cats.
that one too.
If you go to the Wikipedia page for cult film,
Oh, okay.
there's a Plan 9 from outer space poster.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
course.
That's fair. That's fair. No,
Popular
actually,
example, but
it is.
it's
it doesn't mean that it's necessarily a B movie or low budget or not a good
well, I
movie.
think this is one of
it
those
can
things.
be. It can.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I
you would
think
call
it's
that. You might call that a midnight film, but you might not call the
Yeah.
Blob a midnight film. You know.
Well, I think it's one of those things that you could get a lot of different definitions. You know, it's like trying to
Right.
define horror.
exactly. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oof, that's a
does-
rough one.
talk about underground films and midnight films and stuff like that. But I think
Yeah.
I'm not gonna read the whole thing. But
Exploitation, yeah.
that was like the last thing I wanted to mention. And
Okay. Well, you know, we've certainly talked about how people who you don't expect to get killed get killed.
Right.
Oh
Like-
yeah. I
Like
mean, no one's safe in this
A
film.
boy gets killed. Like
Yeah.
the guy who looks like the hero of the movie gets killed early in the movie, just like in Psycho with Jet Li.
yeah, the nice sheriff and diner owner
Yeah, and
who you
and-
really want to hook
and
up.
the waitress who
Yeah.
really seems to be falling in love with the guy. It's like, that's rough. But you know, it's like there is this sort of tendency to think that if monsters are invading, sometimes you expect to see them going after the bad people.
Mhm.
You know, like I said, the EC
Right.
Comics concept, you know, they kind of had it coming, but in this movie, it's really not that way. It's like, you know, it makes sense. I mean, the Blob is completely mindless. It's just out to kill and eat. That's all it
Mhm.
does.
There's no preferences, children.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The sheriff is kind of
morality about
the deputy is kind of a dick.
Yeah.
And actually, that's
Yeah.
a great scene with Kevin Dillon where he licks his chin.
Oh yeah. Ew.
He's trying to
Ew.
give him a steely eye, but
Or dissolving
Forgot
people,
about
you're
that.
okay with that, Crystal.
But he
licking
kinda
the
changes,
chin,
Oh
right?
yeah, but yeah, see that I have no problem with. But ew, well, because all I think is he actually really did have to lick him, and that's grody mody. Okay,
Okay.
that's
How about-
grody. See, as an actor, I think about what they
Okay,
actually had to
but
do.
how
so
about-
the deputy's an ass
about
in that scene.
How about in Batman Returns when Catwoman licks Batman?
Oh well, that wasn't so bad.
Because she's hot, right?
Yep.
Well, the
And so
deputy's a real
he,
ass in that
so,
scene, and
you
then
know.
later on,
Yeah, I wouldn't want to-
when
that
they're
helps.
out in the street, he turns into a good guy. And,
Yeah.
and-
But I wouldn't
which
want to
is
lick him
we-
either.
but that's a
Yeah.
great scene too when Joe Seneca gets killed because he gets sucked down that manhole, but there's just a little added quick action
Yeah.
thing that just
Mhm.
makes it look
Yep.
more violent, more unhuman. you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that the one where you see the blob kind of starting to engulf
Yes.
the face? That was actually done with some kind of balloons that were inflated to fill up the mask and engulf him. Which is, it's a quick cut, so it works. You don't look at it and think, "Oh, birthday party." No, you don't think that. It's all the way things are set up and shot. I mean, it was really nicely designed and
you guys, we have a bunch of feedback, but I'm thinking we should leave it for next time.
Yeah,
I think so.
It's pretty late.
It is.
Right,
Ralph. I really appreciate it. I was a little surprised. I was a little surprised that you didn't send me a whole bunch of pictures or images this time, but you came through with the actual hardware.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, Jeff, I'm getting ready for Halloween, and this is really not the best time for me to be spending time on that stuff.
I love it. I love it. We could show pictures of the effects for a long time on this, and there's a lot of them out there. So
yeah,
have to kind of pick and
say,
choose.
Crystal, are we going to hear your witch cackle? Because this is going to be the Halloween show. This is the Halloween show.
Like, that's not really witchy. Okay, hold on. Wait. I don't know. I mean,
I'm scared.
Sometimes like that. Like,
there we go.
I got like, I don't know. I got to work on it. Now I'm like, you put me under pressure, and I'm like,
oh, no pressure. We won't look.
No, put the pressure on me. I don't mind. I like it. I'm like, now I gotta perfect this. So the crazy thing is, that's actually how I laugh. So it's actually.
Oh, Bill, tell a joke.
Oh, see, now you're putting me on the spot. Jeez.
I'm like, and I open my mouth like so big. I'm like,
well, there's also this
I'm
one.
easy.
I
like
this one.
poop. I like turds.
Anyway, Crystal.
I like turds and doo-doo and poop.
Oh, wait. Okay.
Did you hear that one,
she's like,
Ralph?
her mouth's open now.
The funniest part is I like turds and poop and doo-doo. What? I sound like I'm talking to a little baby.
You sound like you are a little baby.
Be
All
yourself. Right. It's cool. You're among friends, Crystal.
Ralph,
we love you.
Love having you here, and I really appreciate it.
It's been such a pleasure.
Thanks for coming on.
It's been super fun.
Yeah.
I mean, are you going to put out a video of your Halloween stuff? Because I want to see it.
Oh, of course we will. Oh, yeah. Speaking of that, if you want to see what we've done in previous years, go on YouTube and look up Dragon Vein, like wind vein or weather vein, Cove, C-O-V-E. Dragon Vein Cove. And like the most recent one is Dragon Vein Cove 2023. And that'll show you like a 10-minute video of last year's Halloween thing.
Yay!
And I was hoping to add a couple of things this year. Maybe we'll have one new thing this year. We're kind of slammed for time, and the one thing I was working on just got to be too complicated. It's like not happening. We got to set up everything else. But
oh wow, I just did this, and we've got like pirate skeletons and all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah, all kinds of atmospherics and black light and stuff.
Can't wait.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we need to sign off, folks.
Please.
We could talk for a long time, but I need some supper. You guys need some sleep.
I need some beauty sleep.
So in conclusion, I was really delighted I got a chance to work on it, but it was really hard to do, hard to pull off, And the funny thing is that, like I said, there were two shops within the shop. The Blob shop had the Blob side and the makeup effects side. Tony's side, always on schedule, always on budget, just perfection. Our side, we were struggling. The whole time I was there, we were struggling to get things done because it was so amorphous. We didn't always know how to do stuff. We had to work things out.
Yeah, it sounded like it.
We had to, make stuff. We're up late, and then maybe in the next morning we'd be shooting it, so we wouldn't get a lot of sleep. It was
challenging.
challenging.
I forget who was talking about it, but it was like they came up with this brilliant idea of these silk quilts that they filled with
methylcellulose. Yeah.
And then when they went to do it, it's like, oh my God, this is heavy.
Yeah, it's like if you've ever tried to lug a waterbed mattress or something.
Yes.
But imagine that instead of that, it's also slimy and it's also delicate. It's just made of silk, so your fingers can like rip holes in it if you're not careful.
Oh my God.
You know. And I think it might have been Joel Dolanich who came up with the idea of actually having performers underneath that quilt moving it around. And sometimes it would just be one person. Safer. What else would you do?
So it wouldn't like rip. So it wouldn't,
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
Because that's, God, that would be devastating. Like,
yeah, it was rough. And it's also constantly oozing slime. So you have to keep pumping it up again. And it's this Methicel is really very viscous, very thick. And so we had to have this compressor going and these guns that were kind of like, kind of like a caulking gun, except it was pneumatic. So you'd squeeze the trigger and it would go, and it would just completely fill these pockets with the slime. But man, and as the slime would come out, then it would get kind of flat, and you'd have to pump it up. And there would be slime everywhere, all over the floor. And like I didn't work on the really hard stuff because I wasn't on location. But those people, you're going to hopefully hear from Jeff Farley about the experiences they had.
We'll figure something out.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, folks, welcome back to Decades of Horror of the 1980s and our episode on the Blob, released in 1988. We were trying to do a super duper episode that had both Jeff Farley and Ralph Miller, who both worked on the film in special effects, but we had lots of technical issues with Jeff. So if you had to drop off partway through the episode. So what we're going to try to do is record he and I and Bill tonight discussing that. And this may seem kind of abrupt if it splices right into the original episode, but I think we got through that. Jeff worked with Lyle Conway's Blob crew on location. Is that correct?
Not on location, but in this Hollywood shop.
Okay.
Called off of Hollywood Boulevard. It was quite a place, an old warehouse, and it was next to a pharmacy and near a book stand or a newsstand, and but Tony Gardner had his half there, and Lyle had his half set up, and so there was a ton of people in there. You walked in, and it's like suddenly it's like a sea of people there, each sort of doing their, it was sort of like Santa's shop, except it was making blob stuff instead of toy kids. It was making blobs.
What are some of the things you worked on for the film?
Well, I started out in the animatronics department, stringing cables, and that was fairly unexciting, and they could see that I wasn't really that enthusiastic.
Oh, that's what Ralph gets into.
Yeah. But I got put over into the sort of molding and casting and sculpting section, and just sort of moving around from place to place, doing bits and pieces like that. Also sort of learning the finer points of making 35 gallons of blob slime, Methicel, make them in big 35-gallon trash cans with a big drill and jiffy mixer, and it was chemical. It was a chemical-based stuff, so we'd add a little ammonium hydroxide, and it would thicken it up, and would later cause some problems during shooting up at Dream Quest, but I'll tell you, it was interesting stuff. It's like it was a lot easier than doing 35 gallons with the hot and cold method. But what else?
What's the hot and cold method? I've worked with Methicel. It's interesting stuff.
Yeah, I mean, just and you got to mix it with hot water and then mix it with ice water afterwards to thicken it up. And
Right.
at first, I mean, I've mixed it a bunch of times and thought, oh my God, I screwed that up, and stick it in the fridge and later come back and find it, oh, it's like, oh, I got that.
Jeff, yeah, this stuff is one of the few things that actually dissolves better in cold than hot. But if you put it in cold, it kind of clumps up, and you get these snotty clumps. So you put it in like super hot water where it won't dissolve, but that'll allow it to disperse. So now the particles are all dispersed and everything. Then when you dump in the ice cold water, hopefully they're far enough apart that they don't just clump up and you get like, bad gravy. It's got a bit of a learning curve on it.
So whenever we see creatures with globs of drool going down, it's probably
sure, yeah.
Well,
it's either that. I mean, I was on a show once. My assistant and I went all the way to Salt Lake City and found out that we didn't bring any methosol with us, and the director wanted the creature to be slimed every shot. So we went through every CVS and Rite Aid and Walgreens and whatever pharmacies we could find, bought every single tube of KY jelly. So it's like that, and the food grade stuff, can be put in milkshakes and paste and
you've had it whether you know it or not.
And eventually, I mean, I would do some sculpting here and there, but nothing really huge. Just bits and pieces on stuff other people were working on.
And was this sculpting the blob tentacles, or was this sculpting like victims?
Mostly tentacle sort of stuff, blobby sort of things, because all the victims were being held, or were over on Tony Gardner's.
Tony, yeah,
all that stuff. We did all of the actual creature work, including those big blob quilts that I think were talked about before. It was interesting because there was a bunch of different techniques. We'd work out through the night. I mean, I don't know when people ever slept. It seemed like that shop ran 24 hours a day. And
somebody on the commentary on the Blu-ray said that they were working about 100 hours a week.
Yeah, that was a pretty standard week. They got at a certain point in, and I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, I think I was only on for maybe about 2 months. When I came in February, I lasted to March and maybe into April, because at one point they had me for about it ended up being a 3 weeks, like almost every day straight. I go to Hollywood, work in the shop for a few hours, and then I would drive up to Valencia and work on the first unit stuff for a while. And then I would drive all the way into Simi Valley, and I don't know how many miles it was, geographically, but it was, close enough where it wasn't a forever drive, but all the way to the end of Simi Valley to Dream Quest, and work on the miniatures stage until who knows when. I mean, a lot of times underneath the stage with we'd be underneath like this with our blob quilt over us. And
so the miniatures, when you say miniature, like what scale approximately?
I think they were like around 1/6 maybe, or something like that.
Okay. But big enough that you could still get under the quilt, or was there a false floor that you could get up?
They were all sets built off the ground, so that we could get underneath them, and we could hunch over, and we couldn't stand up straight, but we could certainly crawl around underneath them and then get positioned to where we needed. There'd be all these holes set up where people could put their arms through or half their bodies and try to manipulate these things. And it was a tough job. I mean, because it seemed like they were always looking for something that you were never sure you could give them. I mean, they're always asking for to like, you know, look more blobby or more, you know, like these sort of nondescriptive words.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm doing this, and I don't know what else I'm
Yeah.
supposed to do.
Is that considered a puppeteer? You know, if you're moving
Yeah.
the thing around.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, if it were like something like you know, something that maybe had some appendages or some, you know, some semblance of reality to it, it might have been you know, easier. But technically, I mean, really, your main motivation is to undulate. You know, it's
Yeah.
that's
He did
it.
such a good job. When you told me years ago how the Blob was achieved, I'm like, wow, that's not what I expected at all. And going back and watching it, even now knowing this, it still amazes me that it works. There's a couple of scenes that the one I keep mentioning in particular, it's kind of a far shot where it looks like a blob is coming out of the blob, like it's so organic looking. It's
folding
absolutely
over
amazing.
itself.
Yeah.
I remember that. It was just a big like tube that was then like folded up inside itself, and it was there was somebody inside of it just kind of, you know, doing this to
let it go.
Oh, sure. I gotcha.
It's still amazing.
Yeah, it was really great. I mean, yeah, I remember one of the things that I worked on that I really felt totally unqualified to be involved in was the sink where the guy gets his head pulled in, and it's a cool gag. I mean, remember being involved in this thing, and the mechanical side, the animatronics guys had built this rig that looked sort of like, the only way I could say it is it looked like an egg beater. And it kind of had this kind of egg beater type shape to it, and you could pull a cable and the entire thing would collapse in on itself, thereby allowing it to go down that tube, you know, the sink drain. And it was just a really cool gag. I mean, you know, with the skin on it, you know, of course there's editing to kind of get it together, because I mean, couldn't really do it all in one shot, but it was, I always liked that gag. I thought it was really cool, well done, well staged.
Oh, I think that, and the when Donovan Leach's character gets it, which are both fairly early on.
Yeah,
the quality of those really sets the stage for the rest of the movie.
Right.
You at that, from that point on, you buy it, you know, because they look so good.
Because the tone is so well done. I mean, I've never like been shy about saying that. I mean, working with Chuck wasn't always easy, and luckily I didn't always have to get the brunt of things. I did get my session though, but he was under a lot of pressure, and I mean, to deliver something great, and I can really understand how much passion that he had for it, that he put into the film. I mean, it's an excellent film, and I'm really proud to have been involved in it. Just because,
and it holds up. It holds up all these years later, where a lot of films from just a few years ago, you know, 5 years later, you watch them again and it's not so impressive, but this one still holds up.
Yeah, well, I think I must have told you guys or mentioned something about how I was in contact with Jack Harris about 10 years before the Blob, the '88 Blob. Thanks to my my obsession with Equinox. Jack, one of the guys that I tracked down about in like '78, and I managed to find his office number and called one day, and that started. I don't know how many times I called him, but he was really cool and talked to me quite a bit. And but one thing I told him was one of my goals was to work on a film that he produced. And I mean, 10 years later, I was on the Blob.
Yeah. So can I ask how old you were then when you contacted him?
I was about like 17. I must have been about like 16 or 17.
Yeah. We did Ghost Story from 1981, a couple of episodes ago, and Albert Whitlock did a ton of mats on that.
Oh.
And there was a guy that was billed as his like matte photographer for that movie that basically did the same thing with Albert Whitlock. he just figured, what, his name's in the phone book? I'm gonna go over and see this guy, when he was in like high school. So
it's interesting. Jack H. Harris didn't do a lot of films, but when you look at them, especially in the science fiction and horror category, The Blob, the 4D Man, which I'm quite fond of,
yes.
Dinosaurus, which was probably my favorite movie when I was a 10-year-old child, Equinox, which is one of my favorite movies now, and then Dark Star. That's a hell of a resume right there, and some others too. But just those alone would be enough to put you in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he released like Edgar Allan Poe anthology that was shot in Argentina and had it dubbed, and so he had started like having some experience with redubbing the films and coming up sort of with his signature style. That's one thing I liked about working on his film. I mean, or working on, but just watching his films was that sort of style with the question mark at the end. And
yeah.
Sadly, I don't think it was in the remake of the Blob, though. I don't think there was a. Let's see.
No, I don't think there was a question mark at the end. It was kind of.
I that it, it would have been nice to have that, and I'll tell you.
Yeah.
And I've said this before, and I said this in another interview. It's like I don't know what it was with that song at the end of the end credits. They should have used the original theme.
Absolutely.
Right.
I think somewhere should do maybe a fan dub or something. Maybe somebody's already done
with the pop sound and everything. Just put that
exactly.
right in there.
It needed it. It was would have been so.
Well, I need to show this to my grandson, who's now 17, but I watched the original Blob with him and a friend of his when they were about 9 or 10 or something. And when it gets to the end and they're calling the Blob off to take it up to the Arctic, and how it'll be there forever, and these kids both looked at each other and went, global warming.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they know better.
Yeah.
You can show them, then you could just show them. Beware the Blob.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Well.
Terrible.
Yeah.
But that's what I loved about that stuff. I mean, Jack had this interesting style, and I don't know. I really liked his films, and I just had to give him a call and let him know. But getting the chance to speak with him was something I was completely unprepared for, and he even he took me seriously on stuff, which was great.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
boy, he lasted a long time too.
Yeah.
98 years old. Whew.
I saw him at the Equinox Criterion screening at the Egyptian, and he was him and Ford, they were both they didn't even remember me at that point, but I mean, it was a great experience. I mean, just seeing both of them there and still enjoying the experience of being, present in that situation. So that was, it was a pretty amazing experience because I don't think, I had never actually had the chance to meet Jack up to that point. I had only spoken with him on the phone.
Okay.
He clearly had an eye for talent.
Sure.
There's lots of student films out there, but he saw, Dark Star, and we all know who was behind that. And Equinox, all those kids went on to great things.
Sure, yeah. I mean, he was smart that way, and then again, I guess he felt that way about Chuck and Frank Darabont's script for the remake of the Blob. And it was a well done script. I mean,
solid script.
It kind of just followed the formula, but he switched things around enough that it didn't feel cliched at that point.
Yeah.
You know, and it was funny too because I'm thinking about Billy Beck, you know, the Tin Can Man from
Yeah. Yep.
and his ultimate demise. And years later, just a few years later, I did a film with Sam Shepard directing called Silent Tongue. It was River Phoenix and Alan Bates and Richard Harris, Dermot Mulroney. It was a pretty cool Western ghost story. And but Billy Beck was hired for a character called the Petrified Man in a sideshow. So we had to do essentially the same sort of thing for him. Put him under a false table and with a fake body attached to him. And it's like, you know, I figured by that point he was already well experienced with that sort of gag. So yeah, but it was pretty cool. Worked out pretty well.
What was the name of that again? Silent.
The film is Silent Tongue.
Tongue. Okay.
It was the early '90s. Maybe it was like 1990 or one or two or something like that. It was the phase when I was doing westerns, which was actually a pretty cool phase of my career.
Yeah.
So.
Well, so in the Blob, I kept reading about how heavy this quilted blob was. What by the time you worked it down into a miniature, was it still pretty heavy?
Sure. Yeah. Those little quilts. I mean, they were
still a pretty big quilt. Yeah.
12 or an 8x8
yeah
section, and it has all these little bags sewed to it, covering the entire thing. So there's a few hundred of these little bags, and then each bag is maybe a couple pounds.
How big were the bags?
Oh, I mean, just not huge. I mean, they were pretty, pretty small, so they could pack a lot of them, so they could get those really interesting organic shapes. And with the little, they would just slit them open, and we'd inject methicel into them, and immediately they'd start seeping through.
Sure.
They would just gain, a lot of weight. I mean,
so
25, 30 pounds at that point.
I don't know if I'm thinking of this right or not, but what I imagined when people talked about quilts is you have these 2 layers of silk with, like quilts are, top and the bottom are sewed together or quilted, and that these bags or pockets are the in between, or are these separate?
They would like in a quilt, you would have the areas that are pocketed, so they could be filled with fiberfill or something, and that's a similar tech, all the same thing. But yeah, these are just big sheets of silk that were dyed. Everything was mauve and fuchsia. It was all mauve and through the Blob colors.
Was the methyl cell colored?
No, it would all be clear. That would all be clear, so that it would because it would enhance the colors on the
the colors just show through the
would mute them, because otherwise I think if it was tinted, it would just mute the colors, and
they would overwhelm it.
Rather than I guess it does get noticeably more like kind of in the reds as it goes along, like the original film. But this one, it looks like it looks like Cal Tiki in a lot of ways.
Okay.
That's
big beef tripe. Yeah.
the glob of silicone.
Can I ask you, did you have to throw away the quilt every day? It will go bad. Methyl cell will.
Kept been reused. Since the film, it was only shot over a few months, so I think they would just maybe wash them or something. But
God,
it's stick them. I think they maybe got stuck in a refrigerator or something, so they would keep longer, and maybe bleach or maybe water or something. But there were a bunch of them. As a matter of fact, there's a guy back east, a guy named Trent Shy, who has some of the Blob quilts. He purchased some of them at auction recently, and and it's kind of fun seeing them. And I've actually, I think one or two other people I've seen have bits and pieces of the Blob left up. So yeah, some of it still exists.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Well, it's such a cool.
Don't fill it with Methicel again. It'll live. It'll live.
Yeah, I was going to say it's such a cool creature that's lived over 30 years and literally is still going strong. I mean, I think Scream Factory's 4K just came out in the last few months. I think.
What I like about it is, of all the alien movies out there and all the different kinds of aliens, this is probably the most alien. Mm-hmm. It doesn't. I guess the closest thing would be an amoeba, but not very much. This is something completely alien. Can't reason with it. If it has an intelligence, it's not anything that we can deal with. So it just works really well.
My exact feelings, that and the creeping terror. Those are both the most alien.
Yes.
50s.
Did you? So did you have to do any of the work? I don't think they really. The stuff that was in the water in the sewers.
I was around for some of that, yeah, because that was some of the first unit stuff. I was there when Bill Moseley did his scene, but most of it was like a lot of that stuff was like ancillary work. I mean, that was like the day that. I wish I could remember the guy's name's Frank Orson or something like that. He was I think he was the projectionist, I believe, who ends up on the seal.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yo.
Yeah. The real tall guy, and he was in Frank Collison or something like that.
Frank Collison, yes.
Yeah, he's a great like character actor, and I remember being there to help set up for some of that stuff. Even though most of that was built by Tony Gardner's side, we provided tentacles and things like that. We moved those around, and that was actually a fun day because Pons Mar, who was in Return to Oz, was the usher who comes in and gets it. And I remember like talking to him and going, "Oh my God, it's like I saw your picture in Cinefex, working on Return to Oz. I mean, gosh, and you're like, here and working on this. This is cool. It's like, and it's a pretty neat situation just to run across people like that. I mean, for me, that's one of the most interesting aspects of working in the industry. It's just having something like that, or having Sven Ole Thorsen trying to lift your wallet in the food line during lunch on set. I turned around and he's like, it was great. And there was another gag. One of the gags I was really involved in was where Ricky Paul Golden and Erica Leniak are in the car, and he's
awesome.
Her. And of course, Gardner provided all the dummy stuff for Erica, but again, we provided the tentacles.
Yeah,
and the tentacles popping out of her are myself and the late Tony Ruprecht were behind the seat, pushing the tentacles through. For that, they were like on stalks that we could just kind of push them through, and I think we had, a 4-way controller that we could move them around as we were pushing them through, and so I mean that was a cool scene that and then after that moment, then Ricky gets it with the big glob that just envelops him. That was shot. The car was set up in a gigantic gimbal rig. The car lifted up and hung on its side, and he was strapped. They had like a really industrial straps, seatbelts, NASCAR type seatbelts set up in there that he could strap in and be safe. And they had scaffolding set up and a few tree branches set up for atmosphere. And myself and another guy stood up on the scaffolding with 5-gallon buckets of methacel, and when they called action, we dumped it on top of him. It went all over him. But
now, can I ask, how many takes did you have to do for that? Because you have to clean everything up and set up again.
we had one take. We did that in one take, but I'll tell you, it's like before that, Chuck wanted to see a test.
Uh-huh.
So I got picked to have over me, and they just set up a couple of ladders with a piece of wood, a plank set up in between them for me to lay down on. And Chuck just wanted to see slime dumping on somebody. So I'm lying there, and somebody comes up and dumps 5 gallons of slime on me, and I immediately start laughing. I mean, to me, it's just totally absurd. And Chuck just gets in my face and starts screaming at me. It's like, you're supposed to be scared. Don't.
God.
And it's like going like completely ballistic in my face, and he just gets up and he goes, all right, clean him up and do it again. So I had to like get up and then do this whole thing again for him. And so
you didn't take it serious enough. You were
yeah. It's on. I screamed and
oh yeah, because you're afraid of getting yelled at again. It's like
or getting blobbed again, right?
Yeah.
Like fearing that moment of him screaming at me, so that it was that release of fear. It just but I waited for the slime to hit before I did.
You say there was a lot of tension on the set. Was there a lot of studio interference, or was it just that they weren't sure if what was going to work and what wasn't?
I think that's probably a pretty good assumption because they were spending a lot of money on. I mean, that wasn't gigantic money, but it's still for them.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody who puts money, doesn't matter what the budget is, there's always somebody who's nervous about it and wants to make sure that the money's being spent the right way. Really no different. So there was a lot of gags to set up, and a lot of the stress came directly from Chuck. And then we had a first AD who was pretty rough on everybody too. But looking back on it now, I guess it got us through the day, and we made it through our days, relative
right.
So
the impression I got from listening to the interviews and things are that just kind of like what you said, only that they barely have time to do a test. Yeah. And if the test didn't quite work the way they wanted to, there was no time you had to fix it on the fly and hope it worked. And that's why everything was always like, hurry up and behind the 8 ball kind of. And is that accurate or not? Or
that's pretty close. They did have some issues. They had a huge accident that happened on first unit shootout in Louisiana with a stuntman and who was injured. And I think that really sort of set the tone for it. And they wanted to make sure that everybody got through the show as high strung, as safe as possible.
Yeah.
I don't know if those two things can work together, but they were looking for greatness. They wanted to know that what they were getting was going to match what they were hoping. And they hired Lyle strictly for the reason that he had done Little Shop of Horrors and done such a brilliant job with it. But he had a problem with us, the American crew. He liked working with the British crews better. He just said that they were much easier to work with and much more open to ideas. But, we're a bunch of rebels and we got to do things our own way. but but there were a lot of times when we just were trying to figure out like what, I mean, what's the best approach for this? Or, I mean, how do you wiggle a tentacle in front of a camera and make it look like it's alive instead of look like it's being wiggled? It's
right.
A lot of those sorts of tests, and I don't know if anybody ever really successfully figured it out. A lot of that stuff was just like you'd shoot as much as you could, and then you'd pick out the best cuts.
Right.
Yeah.
But in terms of, I mean, Lyle had a bunch of really creative ideas, and I mean, we tried to follow through with them as much as possible, and everybody sort of pitched in on ideas. I mean, I remember pitching in a few ideas that weren't really successfully realized, but at least they did want to get our input, which was nice.
Yeah, sure.
Well, and you don't know the whole synergy behind that is you saying an idea that doesn't work might have sparked something in somebody else to go to.
There was a lot of, I mean, I can't say anything specific, but Lyle really loved to like do a lot of practical jokes and kind of a lot of tomfoolery on set. And there's a few things that we did that were really borderline, get us like really in trouble. I won't mention anything.
The HR department would get a workout.
Lyle caught us in one moment, and all he gave us was sort of started laughing, like it's like what he saw at those moments was what he liked about the British crews, that they were like really. Yeah. I mean, they were apparently very loose, and they would like told jokes on each other, and we did a few things like that, and Lyle, one thing Lyle did, I'll tell you, it's like we got a grip dolly set up, and he put a director's chair on it, and had some of us push that dolly around a parking lot as fast as we could and make whip turns, and with him trying to not fall out of it, trying to keep his balance.
Oh, he's sitting on.
Yeah. I mean, like a kid in a candy store. He just
faster.
Stuff like that. And so, I mean, that was kind of a fun side of him. But those were like reserved for the late nights out in Valencia where nobody was around, and we couldn't get in any trouble doing that stuff.
Can I ask, was the Blob, I was thinking Little Shop of Horrors, I was surprised looking at behind the scenes stuff that the creature actually is moving pretty slow, so they had to speed it up later on. But of course, the human actors that are interacting with it also had to move very slow so that it would work. Was the Blob action sped up in post?
They did a lot of that sort of stuff. I know that they had to work those sorts of gags in also to get that, because there's probably some reverse stuff and but I don't remember there being any real big gags like Little Shop of Horrors where they had the actors moving at a slower pace to match the slower action of the puppets. That I don't remember much. I mean, it did something like that. But like I said, I do remember a lot of running from place to place. It seemed like at one point I was spending more time in my car than I was on set. Getting from 3 units each day for like 3 weeks. They got a little rough. That's when Lance Anderson called me and asked me to work on License to Kill, the James Bond film, and so I jumped ship. To work on License to Kill, and got a Bond film under my belt. So
that's cool. Pretty cool. That's a good resume.
But
no, you've got a hell of an IMDb page. It's pretty amazing.
I'm kind of shocked by that myself. I look back on it now, and I don't know how I did that much stuff. A lot of it was quick, but I mean, there was a lot of substantial stuff too, and it boggles my mind. I mean, now if I if I got paid well for each one, it's like, I'd be doing much better. But
Yeah.
I'm really proud of all the stuff that I've done, and it's a few shows I'm kind of embarrassed about working on, but even then, I mean, the filmmakers were all great people, and they just been on to do the best they could.
And you never know what's going to happen. I mean, Jim Danforth spelled his name backwards for Flesh Gordon, but we look back on it now, it's like Flesh Gordon's pretty damn good.
Oh man, I love going to. When my friends and I used to go see that in the theater when it would play, we'd all pile up in the car and go out and drink a bunch of beer and go see whatever sex comedy was playing. What young guys, in the 70s going out and seeing, like movies like Flesh Gordon and I found out that all of the effects, all of the stop motion and stuff like that, with the exception of a few things, were all done like in a warehouse just a few blocks from where my grandparents lived.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I didn't even know that they were over there. I would have been there sweeping up their floors,
Yeah.
But yeah, I found out later. It's just like, it was just a hop, skip, and jump from grandparents' place. So
you've got I don't know if you want to talk about that or not, but you mentioned to me ahead of time the latest film you worked on, Abruptio. You've got the poster there behind you.
Yeah, I'm the lead puppet designer and fabricator on it, and I did, I don't know how many characters, 15 or so. I think there's
wow.
Evan Marlowe and his wife Carrie, the producer, crafted a pretty interesting film. I mean, I was really happy with it when I finally saw it. I didn't read a script. They said, we're going to send you a script, and I went, I'm just making characters. Just tell me what you want, and I'll make them. And I kept myself in the dark as much as possible. And when I finally saw it for the first time, I loved it. I mean, I was really captivated by it. And is it bloody.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, that's up our alley.
When is this getting released?
It was released. Well, last year was actually officially released and played a ton of festivals worldwide. I think we won like 21 festival awards for it. I mean, I won like 6 awards last year from it. But this year it was released through Anchor Bay Entertainment, the newly reborn Anchor Bay, on September 27th. So it's already been in the theaters now for a few weeks, or week and a half or 2 or whatever, 3. But it's I'm heading to Chicago in a week to host the film at the Hollywood Boulevard Cinema and Cafe at I believe it's Woodridge, Illinois. So I'm looking forward to that. That'll be fun.
Excellent.
It's playing in Iowa on the 26th also. That'll be the 26th. And the same night it's playing at the Floor Cinema in Iowa. And I'm doing a sort of a video Q&A for that also. So I'll be doing live Q&A for Chicago and video Q&A for Iowa. And it's also playing in New York now, Portland. It's going to do a showing in Wisconsin sometime really soon, and wherever else. I mean, Anchor Bay is actually the first acquisition by Anchor Bay. And
well, it's I'm looking on the website and it's there.
Yeah.
The day before they're showing Trick or Treat, the modern Trick or Treat with Sam.
Now you also are one of the folks who helped make the Primevals finally get released.
I wanted to work on that. Boy, I met Dave Allen in '78 when he was working on it. When he started working on it, and I saw a bunch of stuff firsthand, and was so I want to work on this. And in '94, I got hired to go over to Romania and run the makeup effects department, and ended up playing a bunch of hominid roles too. It's like any dead hominid you see in that film, I'm the guy. I'm like a pro at playing dead hominids. It's it's like we had Kevin Mangold, who is also he's the new Slimer in the newest Ghostbusters. But he was there also as one of the hominid characters. A guy named Billy Scudder, who I believe it was for IBM or was it maybe Xerox, had all these ads with Charlie Chaplin in the '70s and maybe the '80s, and it was Billy was that guy who did that. So but he ended up getting sick, and so I ended up taking over his role for him. So the next thing you know, it's like I'm, actually living out my dream of shadow boxing a stop motion character. A Lizard Man will be added later in post production. So that was in my Ray Harryhausen moment. It was really neat. Yeah, it was really cool. It was 9 weeks, 9 weeks in Romania at that point. Wasn't always fun.
Right.
But we had a great time, and it turned out that you could actually, the food there was great. I mean, everybody said bring your own food, bring your own toilet paper, and I found out if you're friendly with your maids, you always get the best toilet paper. So
this might be good to know one day, but I'm glad to see that movie finally got released, and real labor of love.
Yeah, exactly. You slip some money on you have it sitting on the bed waiting for them when they show up to clean up, and next thing you know, you're like, you've got silk. You don't have the stuff that's in all of the gas station bathroom stalls. So
yeah.
All right. Anything else we need to talk about? If you want to mention or say, Jeff, that we haven't given you a chance.
What else? I mean, I've been making a bunch of rat noses for Debbie Allen's hot chocolate nutcracker show. I do that every year. I got out 46 rat noses for them, so I'm waiting for those to be picked up, and just I think I have a laser blast alien commission coming up. I got to talk to the guy about that, and
to make an actual stop motion model.
Yeah, well, I've got this here. This is I've got this guy, and this is a ball and socket.
Nice, so nice.
But this was actually taken off of one of the original models from the film. This is Charlie Band still has the Mr. Red that was used in Laser Blast, and he had me make copies of it. So I had to mold it and make copies for him, and I still have the mold. And one day I said, I'm gonna buy some armature parts and I'm gonna put one together and try making it and see how it comes out. And it turned out great. I mean, it's I'm still waiting for him to get Laser Blast 2 together. So so that would be kind of fun. Although I did do Laser Blast 2 for Empire. I did Deadly Weapon for them. So
yeah, I was yes, I remember that.
Yeah, Laser Blast 2, but no aliens. Very disappointing. So
yeah, since they were so clearly the best thing of the original.
Oh, I know. Well, the Deadly Weapon is directed by Michael Miner, who co-wrote RoboCop.
Oh wow,
It's great. I mean, it was a great time working with him, but he just wanted to make everything more realistic. He wanted to sort of get rid of the sci-fi overtone and make it into sort of a military weapon and a kid on the verge of a mental breakdown story. And then bad things happen. So
yeah.
Well, in case anybody wants to check it out, Jeff has in IMDb, he's got 129 credits under makeup department and another, well, it's taking me too long to scroll through them, 116 under special effects.
And I've got my
that's some producing.
Role is dead hominids. My
dead hominids.
That are the casino doorman in Arena. Does this. And that was me. Did this. Also, I get zapped, and that was a lot of fun. That's a really cool.
I'll bet. So, shoot! You did some stuff.
Me around and
you did a lot of stuff for Charles Band.
You were nominated for an Emmy for Babylon 5.
On 5, yeah.
I'll just reach behind me. I'm a fan.
That was a surprise. I actually got that phone call in the morning. The congratulations phone call. I was like, for what? But the best part was actually just going to the ceremony and getting free booze. And I'll tell you one thing. Here's the thing. We got. I saw a producer who turned me down for a show. He was a waiter at the Emmys.
Oh wow!
Waiter at the governor's dinner, and he came walking up to our table and saw me, turned around, disappeared, and I never saw him again. And it was like, it was a weird thing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and not only that, I wasn't even really angry at him. I wasn't angry at him or anything like that. So
sure, still feels good though.
No, it just happens, but it's how it is. But
that's showbiz.
I did get to see my mom and sisters talking to Cloris Leachman, so that was
excellent.
That was cool. Other than that, I mean, I'm looking forward to chatting in the future.
Absolutely.
Yes, and let's see, what day is it? Well, we'll put that out. But we're looking at redoing
Equinox
for 70s.
Like I said, that one I can give you guys so much stuff on that one. It's like I've got like 42 pages written. I'll just sit there, read everything off.
Take 8. Settle down now. Settle down. All right. Jeff, I appreciate it. I love the time. I appreciate your patience with all our issues Wednesday night, and I appreciate you coming back.
Of course, Bill.
Being flexible.
Again, I'll tell Maggie you say hello.
Yes, please do. And next time you guys come out here, let me know. I'll take you guys out to dinner. It'd be absolute pleasure.
We're scheduled to be there next May.
Okay. All right.
In October. So I'm trying to get I'm going to see about maybe trying to get a screening of Abruptio in Durham. So,
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to talk to the guy and see what we can work up. So,
like the Carolina Theater.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, that they're pretty cool with the genre stuff and all. So yeah, that's
nice.
That'd be fun.
Okay.
Well,
cool. All right, guys.
I guess we'll go back to our regularly scheduled program.
That's right. We're gonna make Crystal suddenly appear, like snap our fingers and.
Yeah. All right. Well,
thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you, Ralph. Thanks.
Thanks for having me,
Bill.
Thanks for having us.
And thanks, Jeff, because I'm probably going to splice something in the middle here. Though.
Yeah. Good.
And thanks to all the Grue believers. Oh, what's up next is Bill's pick.
Oh boy. Bill decided to go into the gutter of the grindhouse, dig through the dumpster,
street trash.
Oh, if
I
only.
wish we already did that one though.
We're going into
You know they're
Cannibal
remaking it.
Holocaust
It's
Squad.
done.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah,
gonna
they're
go
doing
for
showing it in LA, I think, right now. Sorry,
October
Bill.
17th. Yeah.
Sorry, Bill. Sorry.
Oh no. That's I'm probably gonna get letters about this one. We are doing Cannibal Ferox, aka Make Them Die Slowly.
Oh my.
Oh my.
Okay.
That's right.
Buckle up, ladies.
Oh,
and gentlemen.
buckle up. It's gonna be a bumpy ride.
It'll be we needed a palate cleanser.
Oh
Yeah.
well, that's what they were putting it.
All right.
You'll need 2 palate cleanses after that one.
Say good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.